I don't know who's in here, but whoever's in here, we're going to get started in a minute. I'm going to give it a second and let people come in. Mag P. Hello, hello. Hang on, Mag P. We're going to get started and letting Twiz and them know. See, why does that do that? Okay. Stupid thing. We'll leave that right there. Whoever just come in here, y'all, hang on just a second. We're going to get started. I'm just giving everybody time to get in here. Yeah, sort of. I think I am. I'm eating these candy canes. Yeah, I had it set for 1 because I didn't know. I had to restart my computer. I had to update it, but I set it for 12:45. Y'all give me 1 second. Yes, my body acts weird to stress. I lose my voice. It's stupid. I don't understand why, but I do. Okay. We are gonna start. I'm starting this with, I don't know if y'all watch this lady. This is a like horoscope reading, but she does Idaho 4 too, and she's really good. She is so good on this that if you know, you know. Meg, you know. Twiz, you know. But anyways, um, this lady just literally made me almost drop my phone. Every single thing she said was absolutely correct. It's not my horoscope, by the way. Hang on. What the hell did I just do? Oh. I mean, I can get my picture off here now. Good Lord. I wasn't even paying attention. All right, I'm muting my thing so that way there's.
We have the devil. We have the devil, but in the reverse position. Some of you Sagittarius are working hard to let go of unhealthy attachments. So whatever that is for you, it could be a person, it could be a substance, it could be anything that is just, is unhealthy, that you've had difficulty in letting go of. And because the devil comes in the reverse position, it also indicates that you're working hard to
Having your information freely available on the internet makes it easier for anyone to impersonate you online.
To, correct that, or So the devil in reverse can also be a Capricorn. There might be someone in your life who's either no longer in your life, who's a Capricorn. It could be a Capricorn in your life which is your arch enemy, possibly. Or it could even be someone that's passed. So let's get into the rest of the reading. This is for your sun, your moon, your rising and your Venus sign, Sagittarius. It is a general reading, so please take what resonates and leave the rest. And if you do find that this reading resonates for you and you're interested in a private reading, please reach out to me at revelationtarotgb@gmail.com. That's revelationtarotgb@gmail.com. I'm still offering 25% off throughout February, and you can book as far in advance as you'd like. So anytime throughout the year, you do lock that price in and you don't pay anything till the day before. So let's see. We're looking at your general energy, your opportunity, your challenge, your unforeseen events, and your advice. The deck I'm using is the Guardian of the Night Tarot, which is listed in the description. So in your general energy, Sagittarius, we have the Page of Pentacles in the reverse position. It feels like there's been opportunities, or there is opportunities being offered to you that for some reason you're ignoring or rejecting. And I don't know if that's because you don't have the motivation or if it's just that you're being stubborn. But yeah, we'll find out more when we clarify. The Chariot is in your opportunity. So whatever these opportunities or whatever it is that you are rejecting or ignoring, the opportunity here is that it will help you move forward. It will help you move forward. It will help give you confidence. It will, regardless of what you think, and it may be that you're rejecting something because you just think it doesn't have any potential, or it doesn't align with your beliefs or your motivations. However, this card is saying just do it and see what happens, because it is going to give you a sense of I don't know why I'm getting the word self-preservation. I don't know what that's about, but that's what Spirit's just given me. It's like self-preservation. Why? It's almost like doing something's better than doing nothing. But it's bigger than that. It is bigger than that. The Chariot gives confidence and drive and motivation is the ability to move on without looking back. The Queen of Swords is in your challenge. So for some of you, this is a person, possibly Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, but it could be their moon, rising, Venus sign. It could be that they are being influenced by, you know, by air signs in some way. They're in your challenge, and are they in your challenge because you feel threatened by them? Or are they in your challenge because you know they'll speak the truth, and are you ready to hear it? It could be either of those, and I don't know, but it could just be that you're not ready to hear the truth, even though you probably know what that truth is. In your unforeseen events, we've got the Page of Swords in reverse. It's interesting that 2 cards have come in the reverse position in this reading. They're both pages, which shows that there's a level of vulnerability here with your energy, Sagittarius. It could be a fear of failure. It could be just a lack of confidence in yourself. The Page of Swords is wanting to shut down. The reverse Page of Swords is wanting to shut down and not communicate. It's about not wanting to hear something. I don't want to learn. You know, I'm like, it is literally like just trying to avoid hearing some kind of truth. I do feel that. I don't know what that's about. And Temperance is in your advice. Temperance is about balance, inner peace, harmony. The freedom that we give ourselves to do things that help us develop. And for some reason, you're not giving yourself that freedom, Sagittarius. I don't know why. It's like there's no fire in this reading. So it does feel like you've lost your fire somewhere along the way. Let's clarify. The Page of Pentacles reversed. Is it just a lack of motivation? Are you feeling flat, or is there something else? Is it more significant? Clarified by the moon. The Six of Swords reversed. The Five of Wands. So it does feel like your emotions are getting the better of you to a certain extent. You could be painting some kind of illusion around something you've come to believe that isn't true. Six of Swords is the fear of failure, and the Five of Wands is the Five of Wands for me in this situation is about your need to
Stick with me for 30 seconds and I'll show you the trading strategies I used that allowed me to quit my full-time job to
compete with yourself or be better or strive to be better. It's not just about that though. There is energy of you want to be better than others as well. Let's see what the Chariot's about in your opportunity. Oh, goodness. Clarified by the Empress. The Five of Cups. Two of Swords reversed. there is an opportunity here, not only to move on from something, but there's something that's being presented to you which requires your attention, your care and attention and nurturing almost. It's almost like being given a, it sounds really, really insignificant, but it's like being given a plant and saying, hey, can you look after this for me? You know, and you're just like, oh God, no, I'm, you know, I'm probably going to kill it. But you won't. That's the thing, you won't. The 5 of Cups is regret. It's like you're regretting something before it's even happened. It's like you've told yourself, well, if I do this, I'm really going to disappoint someone. I'm going to let someone down. I'm going to, you know, it's all going to backfire. I don't know why there's so much negativity. I do feel it in a lot of people's readings at the moment. So as I keep saying, it's probably something to do with the planetary alignment. But the 2 of Swords in reverse is also, it's a resistance to change. It's like, do you want to keep feeling like this? I'm sure you don't. And if you don't, you're going to have to do something. But there's a resistance to do something as well. The Queen of Swords, who is this? Someone wants to tell you, and you know someone wants to speak their truth, and you're really trying to avoid them. It could be your inner voice. It may not be anyone in particular. It could be your inner voice. It's clarified by the 9 of Pentacles in reverse. The 5 of Pentacles in reverse. And the Strength card. I mean, it just feels very obvious that it's like if you don't, you know, get a grip soon, you're missing out on so much. The 9 of Pentacles in reverse is a, you know, all of that success, all of that dedication, all that sort of thing that you could be putting into something that you're not, that wouldn't, it's not about the results, it's about how it motivates you on the way there. 5 of Pentacles in reverse. There's a fear of rejection here. I don't know why though. Are you taking someone's, are you afraid of someone's advice because it feels to you like rejection? And then the Strength card is, you know, this is the fire. This is the fire, Sagittarius, that you're missing, or you're denying, or you're disguising. It's strange. The Page of Swords reversed. Clarified by the 4 of Cups. The Tower. And the Ace of Cups reversed. Unforeseen events, Sagittarius. And don't forget, any reading or anything I show you in any reading is, you know, you have free will. You can change the outcome. I'm just giving you a forecast of, you know, if this is the path you're taking and you don't change, or you don't change your course, this is the likely outcome. But you can change that course. So you do have free will, and you can, you know, this is not set in stone. But what this is showing is, if you do carry on the way you're going, the 4 of Cups is apathy and, disinterest, and, you know, blocking out any kind of proactive advice, or, you know, it's just like, I'm not listening, I don't care, I just do what I want, leave me alone. It's very stubborn. The Tower is indicating that, you know, if you want things to change, no, let me rephrase that. You know things need to change, but you can't be bothered to change them. So what will happen is the universe will just come along and change them for you, and it will be in a way that is very uncomfortable, very unpleasant, and you'll wish that you'll look back and wish that you'd done something before that happens. The Ace of Cups in reverse. So someone might give up on you here, Sagittarius. I don't know if you're in a relationship, but it could be that someone's got so frustrated to the point that they're just like, I can't do anything. I can't help you anymore. You're not helping yourself, so I'm going to have to walk away. So be careful of that as well, because yeah. So let's see, Temperance, which is your card in the advice column. You are Temperance, remember that. The Eight of Pentacles reversed, the Knight of Pentacles reversed, and the Queen of Wands in reverse. Yeah, it's just, I can see that you're struggling. I can see you're struggling. I don't think you're being deliberately belligerent or anything like that. I can see that it's just trying to get that motivation back up and running. The Eight of Pentacles in reverse is losing your motivation, losing your dedication, losing your focus on something. The Knight of Pentacles in reverse is also feeling impatient because you know, of course you want things to change, but you just haven't got the will to change them. And the Queen of Wands in reverse is you again, but where's the fire? It's like, unfortunately, this is one of those times, Sagittarius, when you are just going to have to dig deep. It might take you a long time to light that fire. You probably haven't got any matches, and you're going to have to rub a couple of sticks together, and it might take hours or days. But eventually that spark will come back, but you must just keep going, keep trying. Yeah, I can see you struggling, Sagittarius. So let's do your oracle. I believe I'm right in saying you are Jupiter. Yes. So your ruling planet is Jupiter. Is it that one? Okay, we just left that one on the table, so it must be that one. Your card is Saturn, which is the planet of structure. Saturn rules that which we must build over time: bones, teeth, personal authority, maturity, borders, discipline, traditions, and organisation. Saturn, like Jupiter, is a huge gas giant. With its rings of ice and rock, it represents the boundary of the visible solar system as the last planet humans can see with the naked eye from Earth's surface. Saturn, traditional ruler of Capricorn and Aquarius, takes 29.5 years to round the zodiac and forms challenging aspects to itself approximately every 7 years, hence the 7-year itch in a marriage, and 21 as the traditional age of official adulthood. Saturn asks you to step into the next level of maturity and personal authority. Think of Saturn as a martial arts master who pushes you to grow through workouts, discipline, and tests that allow you to prove what you know, both to yourself and others. Look for a mentor or choose to mentor another. Honour the teacher, but don't give your power away. Listen to the experts, mix their wisdom with your experience, and make your own wise decisions. If you feel like someone is abusing their authority or undermining yours, set firm boundaries and hold them accountable. Study, cope, grow up. Look pragmatically to the skeleton and teeth, either of your own body or in the metaphorical structure of your project. Can this endeavour stand up and take a bite out of life? Make sure the foundations are strong. The organisational structures are in place, and build out from there. As you gain strength in mind, muscle and bone, you can become stiff. So remember to stretch body and soul. Be careful not to cling to old conceptions of success or hold on to a brittle system that restricts potential and leaves people discouraged. The ancestors call you to wisdom and maturity, to know your gifts and limitations. This process may be an initiation, a test that empowers you. Interesting. Definitely take that advice, Sagittarius. So now I'm going to pull you a crystal card just to see what Spirit thinks will help guide you this week in the form of crystal, healing, power. And who knows, maybe Otter Spirit will have it too. Let's see. Okay, no. So the card I've pulled is Rhodochrosite. It is rosy red to chilled rose pink. Looks like that. Rhodochrosite is the go-to stone for the bent and broken-hearted. Anyone grieving or really needing to grieve needs this stone. Regarding a major loss, a relationship that's expired, or an outdated idea of self. This stone should be worn against your chest while you breathe through your heart, or slide a favourite piece into your bra, if you're wearing one. So, maybe if you're a guy, you're going to have to put on a bra as well, but that's your choice. When to use it: when your heart hurts, you can feel all the feels, even the most painful, and still be gentle with yourself. Let Rhodochrosite remind you that this too shall pass, and you, especially you, absolutely will heal and love again when you're ready. Soften your heart. So this feels like for those of you who have gone through or are going through a breakup of some kind, and maybe that is part of the reason you're feeling so demotivated. But yeah, I'll leave you with that. But please do also visit the Otter Spirit website, because there will be other stones there that you may find you are drawn to. Beautiful jewelry. I do have some new products coming, which I'm very excited to show you when they arrive. And
Y'all, Christy, what did I tell you? But whatever fire he's getting, he better not bring it around me, because it will blow up.
What?
I'm not playing.
Yeah, you better.
Shut up. Hang on, y'all. 1 second. Okay. Anyways,
What? Can't you stop?
if you don't shut up. I mean, I can't win for losing.
He's my
Jesus.
baby. He's my little baby.
Okay, take the dog in there and do
Go
whatever
away.
with him.
Hard ass. Hard ass.
Shut up.
Spark ass. Give me the rocket like a two ass. I'm through. I'm just fucking with you. You need a baby.
I need a vacation from life.
Ha 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 ha.
And that's the devil too.
What? What'd you say?
Hush. Oh my God. Hang on, y'all. I'm telling you, I think I'm going to give Oh my God. Sorry, y'all. He come up right as I was going live, of course. Come to see the fucking dogs. What should take the dogs with him? I swear. The fuck was I doing with... Oh my God. Don't matter if you're with them or not. When they come around like that, fuck, and you got two idiots to deal with, shitting me. I should have fucking I would have done better putting a bullet in my head, for real, y'all. The hell is wrong with me? Oh well, he's in college his tower moment. Like I said, whatever fire he should feel. I hope the fuck he does feel bad. I hope he does feel bad. I'm sorry. He deserves to act like that. You cannot have no communication in a long distance relationship. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. He should go get help. Third time's a charm. Fuck that. I'm not doing this shit again. At least I know what was wrong with him the last times, though, because that's, I guess. But you gotta help yourself. Can I help you? I'm crazy enough, hell. I can't deal with nobody else's shit. And she did another Idaho reading. If y'all are talking about Revelation Tarot, I can't remember her name, but I should, because we email back and forth. I really like her, but she did one on Maddie's stepmom. I like her a lot. But Christy, I thought I was going to pass out. I was like, oh my God, hang on. Okay. Okay, good God Almighty. Oh yeah, my mama was Scorpio too. She was nosy as hell. Well, her stepmom, she just did the reading on Maddie's stepmom, that Corey woman. Whatever her name was. Well, it's not her stepmom now, but it was her stepmom. We can watch that in a minute if y'all want to. But y'all make sure you go to her thing and like her stuff though, because that's the only reason I don't like doing that, because I want everybody to go, Where's my dang troll? Hang on, y'all. Well, I don't know why I'm telling y'all to hang on. I'm here, but I'm looking for my troll. There it is. Ta-da! My troll. I don't know. I think I have some score. I don't remember. I know my moon's Gemini. What got me doing readings? Well, oh, where's Heather? Well, I have always, I really didn't know what it was, but I've always been very sensitive to movies, Disney movies. It does not matter. All dogs go to heaven, any of that stuff. But any movie, I don't watch movies. I never have, because most of the time I get really upset or whatever. And I'm like that with other people too. Like, that's why I didn't actually look at the Idaho murders at first, because I feel everybody's emotions all the time. I didn't really know that's what I was doing. I can't handle my own life. However, I can give people advice. I think that's the way most people are. But anyways, everybody that comes around me, like, I don't mean to feel their energy. I just feel if they're sad, if they're happy, if they're whatever. I don't get like Sloan Bella and Ashley from the Reckoning Co. and even Revelation Tarot, they probably get pictures in their head. Every now and then I do. I don't. I just get feelings. And the Reckoning Co. actually, I'd never seen tarot cards. I'd heard of them, but well, I guess I still am I believe in Jesus. I just don't believe in the way the Bible says most of it anyway. But the Christian church who tells you you're going to hell all the time for everything, yeah. So when I finally decided that I was going to hell no matter what I did, so even if I diverted, it wouldn't matter because, hell, the way they put it, you can't, there's barely anything you can do. There's only a certain amount of people who get into heaven if you ask them. Anyway, so about 2 years ago, I decided to, well, right after Idaho 4, because I started watching Ashley. That's when I got my first tarot cards. I could probably do it somewhat without tarot cards, but I'm not comfortable. Like, it would take me too long because I don't get like visions like that. So I will probably always use tarot cards. But that's how I started Ashley from the Reckoning Co. And then I went on the journey of I'm not blaming you. I did not blame you. You didn't do nothing because you just let me find the shit for myself. It was me going to you going, Heather, what about this in the Bible? Heather never did anything. She don't force her opinion on anybody. She just sits and lets you find the information, and then you go to her going, oh my God, what does this mean? And then she'll tell you. Oh, hell. Oh, Lord. Okay. I'm not blaming Heather. Yeah, Brian's a Scorpio. Yeah, I've watched 11/11 Tarot. I have a strong need to talk about rights in the United States right now. Just saying. Anyway, oh yeah, Heather don't. Heather don't force nobody to believe anything. That's why she calls herself a recovering Catholic. By the way, you love whose hair? Oh, I was like, what? Whose hair? Oh, mine. They don't have that green in it now. I need to put it back in there. I love green. Right now, my face is broke out. I'm not fixing to get on the camera. It's called stress from dumbasses. Anyways, I said it was broke out. I didn't say my face was broken. Is yours? Just wondering. Okay, anyways. Well, I am something. Christy, you usually behind anyway, so we just excuse you. But I should probably get closer to my microphone. None of them documents come out. Are they going to? Oh, I put that, I can't pronounce it, that thing, that deuces thing, that whatever thing. Heather will put it in chat, or Twiz will. I put, because I didn't know what it was, so I wouldn't call nobody stupid, but I figured somebody else might have questions about it. Oh, I might be able to find one with rainbow hair. I mean, because yesterday, yeah, Deuces Techum. I want to call it Texas and everything else. That thing. Anyways, yesterday, I just forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, yesterday, because you got behind and I don't know what happened. But anyways, where's my thing so I can read this? Wait a minute. Don't. I'm just playing. Y'all, somebody left a comment the other day freaking out because I got something right. And they were asking me all kind of questions, and I had to go, I don't like listening to myself. I didn't know I even said that. I was like, I have no idea. She's like, you don't even know what you said? I was like, no, I can't remember all that. Hence the reason I never do verification video or whatever you call it. I don't have to show everybody if I'm right or not. I'm just trying to figure out. I think we're doing better investigation than the investigators did with their damn conspiracy theory. And every time somebody yells conspiracy theory, just like with JFK, I'm questioning it, because that just means the government is calling it that because it's the truth. That's what I've learned. I cuss folks out about a conspiracy theorist. Why is every damn conspiracy I looked into ended up being true then? That's a little weird, isn't it? Where's my damn... Oh. Okay, so we already know that, well, I don't know how Idaho works, but like I said, this prosecutor and her husband is a prosecutor for a state. It's not Idaho. But she's already said that the Bethany thing, she thinks that's one of the Brady violations because Bethany's statement is not in the PCA, and the only reason it wouldn't be in the PCA is because it's exculpatory. So, there's that. And then they have an issue with Dylan's because Dylan I mean, whatever they put in there that they said she said. Okay, hang on. I'm trying to get my thing here. Okay, so hang on, y'all. Is that? Oh, this damn Discord going off. Let me make this Discord go away so it'll quit going off because it's annoying. Quit. Okay. Okay. One second, y'all. I'm trying to get to the top of my thing that she sent me. Okay. She actually gave me an example of what one would look right. Y'all, this is not it. She did use the state of Idaho and stuff, so I'm telling everybody now. And I know I'm going to have somebody go out of here and go tell people that I said this was it. there's no way I would know what the hell it looks like because they ain't even released them. This is just an example of what it could look like. I'm not going to repeat that a million times. This is not what this is. I mean, it may look, I don't know. This is not anything from Idaho because, of course, we haven't seen it. I'm just... Okay. Telling y'all. I'll show it to y'all too, but I'm telling y'all what she sent me as an example of what one may look like. A subpoena duces tecum, and I don't know why they can't just name that something else, is a legal document that commands a person or entity to produce specific documents, records, or tangible evidence for use in legal proceedings. The term is Latin for bring with you under penalty. Well, alrighty then. Indicating that failure to comply can lead to legal penalties. One purpose is to obtain physical or and I'm not looking at the chat, y'all, right now. To obtain physical or digital evidence such as emails, text messages, or correspondence, financial or business records, contracts or agreements, surveillance footage, sorry, y'all, investigative reports, like forensic or police reports, photos, recordings, or physical items. Who issues it? Typically issued by attorneys, courts, or administrative bodies as a part of discovery in a civil or criminal cases. Judges may issue them directly, or attorneys can issue them under their authority. When it's used, criminal cases, to compel law enforcement agencies or other third parties to produce relevant records or investigative files. In civil cases, it's for obtaining key records, opposing parties, or neutral third parties, doctors' businesses. Obligations. Receipts are legally required. No, receipts. Recipients are legally required to provide the requested items unless a valid legal objection or privilege, like attorney-client privilege or self-incrimination, is raised. Failure to comply. Failure to produce the requested evidence can lead to contempt of court charge. Holy shit. Contempt of court charges. Wow. That's fines or imprisonment. They gonna put the damn... Oh, okay. Okay, well, I mean, I didn't read that really good last night. Court orders compelling compliance. Relevance in defense strategy. In this case context, again, this is like examples. This may not be exactly what this is, so... In this criminal case, the subpoena duces tecum could be used to obtain investigative records, surveillance footage, or forensic test results, acquire communications between law enforcement and other parties, emails discussed earlier, compel production of reports or internal documents that may show investigative errors, bias, or exculpatory evidence. And then she did this. Again, this is not, I'm gonna, hang on. Let me get this copied so that I can show y'all. This is just an example of like what they look like. 1 second, y'all. What in the holy Cabela yelling? Okay. I don't know what I just said, y'all. Some word that I just made up. Hang on. What the heck? Oh. I'm a dumbass. Hang on. I thought it was cool that she did it so I could see we could see sort of what it looks like, because we may never see the ones from them, you know, for real. Okay. So again, y'all, I know most of y'all don't have to say this over and over too, but I can hear it now. She said it was from them. Oh, no, the hell, I did not say nothing about that. I said this is an example, but folks don't listen, so say it again. All right, hang on. I should have done this before. I forgot to do it, though. Okay. I'm just leaving that untitled document 1. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Let me do this. And it's not really image, but I think that'll work. Oh my god, if he's come back in here, I swear I cannot get rid of people. Like, I want to. Where did my thing just go that I just downloaded? Okay. What just happened to my thing? Hang on. What just happened to my thing I downloaded? What the hell kind of shit is this? I swear. This thing's trying to be a pain in my ass, by the way. Just so y'all know. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the link to this in the chat, and then y'all can get it. That way y'all can have it to look at if you want to. There. And see, like, the bottom, it just has, like, date by defense attorney's name. Like, she didn't put all that. She just did it about how it would look. So it starts out like any other document, the state of Idaho, in the district court of the yada, yada, yada. All that with all the names. You are hereby commanded, pursuant to Rule 17C of the Idaho Rules of Criminal Procedure, to produce and permit inspection and copying of the following documents, records, and items at. And it says insert address, you know, because she didn't do all that. On or before, yada, 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 in the above case. So, again, these are not what they're, I mean, this could be some of the stuff they're actually doing this for, but this is just examples of stuff they would do it for. Complete cast report data, cellular analyst, survey team, all raw data, drafts, versions, and working files related to the cast analyst of defendants. And I don't have my chat up, y'all. Cell phone records, all data maps used to generate any timelines, including date and time of drive test, communication between cast analyst and law enforcement regarding the creation and interpretation of these reports. The 911 call recording, and I bet you that might be one thing. Well, I don't know if the defense has that or not, but the 911 call recording and transcript, body camera footage and logs, forensic lab reports, grand jury transcripts, which I think they already have, witness interview records, communications between university and investigators. That's going to be a big one. I wonder if that's one of them they're really getting. Records of the house's release and demolition. And then there's other stuff too. This is just, like I said, an example, but I have some other things. Oh, why didn't I just do that one? Huh, that was stupid of me. Okay, so if it's ignored or goes unanswered, contempt of court, fine, arrest, and detention until compliance, sanctions such as paying legal fees. So do they have to pay that out of their own pocket, or what? How does that work, I wonder? Motion to compel. The issuing party may file a motion to compel asking the court to order recipient to produce requested documents or items. Adverse inferences. In some cases, if the subpoena party refuses to produce critical evidence, the court may allow the opposing party to argue for an adverse inference, meaning court or jury may assume that the withheld evidence would have been unfavorable to the non-compliant party. Wow. Potential dismissal of claims or defenses. Arrest. That's crazy. Arrest somebody. That is crazy. If the recipient has valid reasons for not complying, they should file a motion to quash or motion for a protective order with the court before compliance deadline. These folks get jailed. That's crazy. I wonder if that's happened before in cases. Okay. Let's see. This subpoena Duces Tecum is used to ensure critical evidence is available during legal proceedings. Here's why they're commonly used. This is more issues. Collecting evidence. The primary purpose is to compel the production of documents or physical evidence relevant to a case, ensuring compliance, preserving the integrity of the legal process. We know what that means. Identifying key information or witnesses. In some cases, subpoenas can help reveal new facts or witnesses that neither party initially knew. Examples: email or text messages could expose previously hidden communications that affect the outcome of the case. Documenting evidence for trial. Protecting parties from destruction of evidence. Broader discovery tools. That's for civil cases. Establishing chain of custody. For physical evidence, weapons, drugs, or forensic reports, subpoenas help maintain proper documentation of how evidence was obtained and handled to avoid claims of tampering or improper collection. Why they are common in criminal cases. In criminal cases, these subpoenas are often critical to securing records like, I think I just went over this, surveillance videos, text message and email, forensic reports, DNA or fingerprint analysts, social media activity, or financial records. Let's see. There was something else. Hang on. Gathering emails or text communications between key witnesses or suspects to uncover contradictions in testimony. Exculpatory evidence. If evidence suggests another suspect or an alibi, it could change the trajectory of the case. If evidence is not preserved properly, it can be challenged as indismissible in court. While they're crucial in true crime or criminal defense cases, supporting defense arguments, defense teams can use the subpoenas to gather evidence that law enforcement or prosecution may have ignored, strengthening the argument for reasonable doubt. Challenging state's case. Evidence from third parties can expose investigative errors, timelines that don't match, or evidence tampering. Locating exculpatory witnesses. Witnesses who were not initially questioned may be compelled to provide new testimony. Challenging the prosecution's timeline or narrative. Discrepancies in witness testimony or timelines. Chain of custody irregularities. Subpoena chain of custody records can reveal breakdowns in breakdown in evidence handling, making the evidence indismissible. Exposing law enforcement errors or misconduct. Incomplete or flawed investigations like the DNA. Subpoena body cam footage, crime scene photos, or officer notes may show that key investigative steps were skipped or evidence was improperly gathered. If subpoena reveals internal communications suggesting bias or misconduct, e.g., pressure to arrest the defendant without sufficient evidence from the university, it can cast doubt on the integrity of the investigation. Witness credibility and inconsistent testimonies. Subpoenaing social media posts, text messages, or emails may reveal motives or lying or bias against the defendant. Exposing incomplete or flawed forensic analyst. Exposing law enforcement's relationship with key entities, university or employer involvement. In true crime cases, subpoena or like felony cases, subpoenas may be used to expose if third-party entities, example, universities or businesses, interfered with investigation or applied pressure. I bet you that's one of them. I guarantee you that's one of them. How much I want to bet. Forcing disclosure of hidden exculpatory evidence, Brady material. Oh, Bethany's statement. Witness statements that were favorable to the defense. Oh, yeah. Undermining expert testimony, cell tower cast analyst or cash reports. Subpoenas can obtain technical data, internal reports, or communications from telecommunication companies to show cell tower pings are not precise enough to place the defendant at the scene. Proving coercion or witness tampering. Oh, shit. Subpoenaed text messages, call logs, or emails may show that law enforcement or third parties pressured witnesses to testify in a certain way or withhold evidence. Okay. Alrighty. So, some of those she put in there because she thinks that that's what's going to be some of it. That last one, she did say she thought that was going to be some of it. So, I just thought that was interesting, and y'all would like that. Did that link work for y'all? Because I didn't look. I was too busy reading. Y'all, that was juicy to me. I thought that was like, if y'all want the rest of this, do y'all want this thing? I can put it on a document thing so y'all can have it too. Again, she does think some of these, she don't know for sure, but she thinks some of these, and this is a prosecution person like Bill Thompson and Ashley, God, makes my eye twitch, Jennings, is prosecution. This lady and this man are, they are prosecution attorneys. But what I can do is oh God. Let me wait a minute. All right, hang on. I'm putting this on a doc for y'all. Maybe. Okay, there we go. No. Oh, dumbass. Open it. Right, hang on, let me make sure. I got all this for y'all. All right, hang on. Doo-doo. One second, y'all. Okay. Hang on. Me and this stupid mouse are fighting. Right. All right, I got all that. So I'm also going to put this thing back on here too again. So it'll probably be on there twice for y'all, but you know. All right, one second, y'all. I'm almost done. That, and then I have one more thing. Hang on. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay. Now I got it. Sorry, y'all. I just want to make sure I had everything on there. Okay, now file. Oops, shit. Oh my god. Oh, I thought that just messed it up. I was supposed to have a fit. Download PDF. Okay. Share. Save. Anyone with link? Copy link. Okay, I'm coming, y'all. Sorry. Okay, here's the link, and it gives y'all all the stuff I just read. Y'all should be able to get to it. Hey, AR. Yeah, is Frank still in here? I really wanted him to get these documents. I might send them to him because he should probably read them. I'll go see. Oh, I need to go to. Oh, what did he do? I knew he was going to, y'all. I was stuttering over myself. When I saw he was in here, I was like, that's when I said, well, I have the need to go over American rights now. Because I was like, what the fuck is he doing in here? Yeah, I didn't want to see him say nothing because I didn't want to lose my shit on him because I really would have. So I was just like, yeah. What did he get timed out for? And y'all, nobody ever gets timed out in my chat, barely. So he's like the first because we don't have people come in here doing that. So I was waiting. Let me guess. Well, I mean, like Harsh, he's literally, he'll go find the laws or the rights or whatever. He was an ass to Meg P. Oh my God. That's like, I mean, yeah, I'm not either. He come in here and I was like, I was stuttering over my words because I was like, oh God, I'm not scared of him. I just didn't want to have to cuss him out. But he was mean to Meg P. I mean, come on now. Wow. I mean, you have to really try to do, like, you have to, I mean, you have to, anyway. If it was me, we probably couldn't have timed him out because I'd have been a smart ass right back with him. But Meg, yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, y'all know what to do with people. Y'all know how to do it. I was reading. I don't watch T-Rev neither. I can't watch Frank. Carla had me watch Frank the other day because of that girl, that lady that went up there. He called that lady old too. She was mad as hell. Truth something. That shit was funny. I was dying laughing. She went off on that man. Oh, I'm sure Meg could have taken him, but I'm saying Meg is never mean to anybody. I've never heard her be mean to anybody. So I don't understand. Discord. Oh, hang on, let me get back on Discord because Twiz hollers at me because it dings all the time. Why are we playing T-Rev's videos? Hang on. Oh, well, I don't care. Why the hell were you mean to Meg P? Frank, we're not mean to Meg P, and you should get this thing, girl. You know me. Okay, I got you. Anyway, that lady cussed him out was funny. I ain't watched him but once, and I didn't know that was Frank. But what are we watching about? T-Rev. Where are you going, AR? Wait a minute, did I miss something? Oh, okay. I read it now. What time is it? Hang on. Let me respond to this. Okay, I'm trying to keep up with chat, y'all. Hang on. I don't watch T-Rev. But that's just like with Frank. Like, I don't agree with what he said, so I just don't go into... I'm not going to go in somebody else's thing and cuss them out. That's why I don't want people coming up here doing it. If you don't like what I'm saying, there's an X button. Holla back. I don't go to people's stuff and go cuss them out on their territory. Do what you do. The shower curtain's innocent too. And the damn knife sheath. And, by the way, I'm saying this again. I don't care if people think that Brian Kohberger is guilty. That's not what aggravates me. When you have a problem with our rights that we go by, and it's not just Brian Kohberger, we have 3 cases that are fueled with corruption. Karen Reed, the Idaho case, it looks to be, and Delphi. So, and I care about my rights because I just had to go pay $500 to enact my rights on my kid. And I have rights on my kid, so I care. And I'm not being mean to anybody. I'm just saying I care. And I understand if you don't know about the rights or whatever, then it's hard to... I don't understand all of our rights. And I live here. I mean, so... But it is very important that our courts go by it because that's what they've been founded on way before we got here. So... And the way it works is if they lied about anything, murderers can get off. And that's why I was saying that people that think Brian Kohberger is guilty should be really pissed off with law enforcement because if he is guilty and they violated his rights, there's going to be a problem. So agreeing with the prosecution when you clearly can see there's something going on, I'm not saying you have to be against all prosecution. I'm saying that when you can see, I literally got this information from a prosecutor, what I just gave y'all, who is a prosecutor. Her and her husband see something wrong with this case. So, she said the judge where they are would already be made them give it over. They would have undid the gag order and everything. Because once the defense says that he don't want it anymore, that's a sort of a violation to his rights. She said they can get by with it just because, I guess, the way they're doing it. But not so that everybody knows, well, y'all already know, my issue is not with people thinking Brian Kohberger is guilty. I wasn't there with the man. I can't say he's not guilty. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying and what Miss Potts is saying when she's talking about this, she is literally talking about the documents and law enforcement and how they did their investigation. The thing is, if they did it backwards, it matters because in America, you can't do that. There's reasons and rights for that. And they know this. So, The other issue is, I just don't think if he did it, he went by himself. And if he did it, he didn't have his damn phone. They've already messed it up anyway. And I've said this since the day he got arrested. He didn't have his phone or his car. He didn't have a throwaway phone or whatever the hell you want to call that neither. If he had anything to do with this, he didn't take his phone, his car, no throwaway phone, and he never contacted them on social media because he's not that stupid. And that's just my opinion. But they've married him to that phone and that car because, like I said, my first question to Cy Ray is going to be this, and I already know what he's going to tell me. They married him to that phone and that car, so it doesn't matter. Okay, you can track Brian Koberger's phone and car, whatever. Where was Brian, though? Was he with his phone and car? The reason that's not going to matter, and I know people don't understand this, is because the state has married him with that phone and that car, period. So they can't change their narrative. What's not a legal argument? Yeah, they confused me with that. It wasn't a Fourth Amendment right. Heather, did they even have laws? That's the other thing with this IGG. If they don't even have laws yet for it, how do you... Well, I mean, they did marry him to that phone and that car. They can't change their narrative now. And my first question was, well, he didn't take his phone or his car, so they're stupid. That was the first thing I said. They're stupid. He didn't take his phone or his car. As soon as I found out what he was in school, the stuff he was doing in school, and if he was guilty, he would still say he was getting exonerated because he knows he didn't take his phone or his fucking car. That's just stupid. So I don't even know why they said that. Everybody been looking for a car. I didn't look for that damn car because I already knew. Running around looking damn Linda Lane, everything else. Y'all, we probably know Linda Lane better than the damn people in Idaho do. Looking for a damn car that probably wouldn't even know. I don't even know. But anyway, I didn't look for no damn car. If I hear the word incel or Honda, Honda Elantra, when this shit's over with, I'm telling you. I don't want to see one. I don't want to, none of it. And I don't think they built a tree. My math teacher said if we didn't show work, we didn't do anything. So I don't even know if they built a tree for real because they didn't save any of their work, so they can't prove they built a tree. So I don't even know if they really found anybody from Brian Koberger's family that actually, because they keeping that secret too, and that's stupid as shit. That is stupid. I don't think they found I don't think they built no tree, y'all. I'm telling you, I don't think they did. I don't think they did. So what happens if they cannot show the tree at all they built, right? What happens then? Does anybody know? Oh, I'm sorry, Frank. I'm not talking about... I did not know he drove a Honda Elantra. It's not against you. It's really not. I'm just saying. I feel like they've had us on a look over here while we're doing this over here about a damn car. And they put that Linda Lane footage out, so we all fucking... I don't know. I couldn't. I said, nope. I said, what's really going on? Because they got everybody distracted over here, so what's going on over here? And Jeff said, well, I talked to the man with the video. I don't care whether you talk to that man or not. That man is all in with green and everything else. You don't think he can lie to you? What, you don't think people can lie? He wouldn't have the damn footage if it was something. Any damn way. These folks kill me. There is a gag order. That probably ain't even from the same damn night. I'm not playing. I don't think there was no DoorDash. Or I think the DoorDash was a setup thing. Like, I know we know it was set up, but I'm saying, though, I think it was... Anyway. And I don't think that... there's no damn tree neither. And if they can't prove no tree, then how are they gonna... And then they can't use the buccal swab, and I don't know why they call that buccal neither. Because how can they use that? The prosecution I was talking to said that they shouldn't be able to use that because it come from the IgG. That's the only reason... They would still take his DNA anyway, regardless, but I'm saying they can't use it. I don't really know how laws work out when it comes to all that, but... Yeah, criminology is not that. And the reason I know that is because I started taking criminology. They do not teach you how to murder people. I don't know that you can be taught how to do that. I think you just have to be crazy. Now, do I think that Brian Koberger could be completely off his rocker and sitting there patient, looking like he's innocent and not be? Yes, he could be. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there. Him and God know that. And the victims. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. I can't tell people that they can't say that they think he's guilty because they may. I can't tell you if he looks scary or not because I thought he murdered 4 people. So he looked scary to me from the beginning. So I can't judge him correctly. So it's not fair for me to judge him. I have a hard time with him not knowing anything at all that's going on. But the man may not. I don't know. But I will tell you this, and I hope Frank's listening to this. Those 4 kids hang up with my kids. Their pictures do. So I'm not trying to piss anybody off. I want justice, real justice. Everybody's guilty. I don't care if they knew about it enough to think they should have done something and they didn't do anything. They need to be in jail. That's my opinion of it. I don't care what these kids were doing. I don't care if they were hanging out the window selling crack, having sex with everybody at the stop sign. I don't care if they were dressed up like bunnies, having sex with everybody at the stop sign. I don't care what they were doing. They did not deserve to die like that. That is a very scary, scary ass way to die. Boogeyman, like literally, Christy was right when she said boogeyman. Worse than Freddy Krueger. And I knew I would be emotionally attached. And that's why it took me a while to get into this Idaho 4 thing. So I hope Frank's listening because I think people think that we just are whatever. Because see, this is not over. One, even if Brian gets charged, it's not over because he's not the only one. And he may not be it at all, even if he gets charged. But if he ends up getting out, they're going to want to just close this. They better get some glue and hope they didn't burn the house down. I've already said that because I will be calling Idaho every day, 2 or 3 times a day. I will harass Idaho University since they wanted to be in the investigation. I'm going to harass them. I don't give a shit. If y'all don't think I will call every day, if y'all don't think I will send emails every day, they're going to hear me from here because there's still 4 dead people and nobody is in, yeah. It's about Brian Koberger, but it's not, it's about these 4 kids. They're dead, period. And I do not think that everybody in Moscow is corrupt. I don't think their whole police department's corrupt or anything. Now, in Karen Reed's case, there's 2 there's 2 whole police departments that's corrupt, but that's very unusual for all of them to be. Frank, ain't that his name? Yeah, that's his name. I'm just explaining to him so he don't think that because I know that people think that people are just against it. They don't want nobody to go to jail. I do. If Brian did it, then I want him to go. Whoever did it, I don't give a shit. I don't care if it was, I don't care who it is. I do not care. I don't care if they were 17 and they were involved. They need to be charged as adults. This is a horrific crime. Whatever, whoever. Every one of them. Whether it fills up 10 jails in Idaho, I don't give a shit. All of them. And I hope when they go, if this thing goes to trial, that every time somebody tries to speak a lie, they can't. The truth just comes out. That's what I hope. So, and I explain that so that everybody knows that I don't care who did it. I just want them all in jail. There's adults involved in this shit that these kids trusted, and they were kids. And I believe with all my heart that they do know right from wrong. But what I'm saying is when you have an adult that you think is not going to steer you wrong and they're doing it, that's fucking ridiculous, okay? Ridiculous. And what makes me mad with the state is there's 4 dead kids and nobody gives a shit because the university sure as hell don't. And I do. And I'm not related to none of them. But I still care. Not only did they died in a fucking nightmare. Not a quick, it might have been quick. It was a nightmare. That is, they died scared to death. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. They died scared to death. And that messes with me. So I want everybody. The friends that were at the house, if they moved Ethan, I want them too. If Bethany and Dylan, if any of them kids could have lived, if they lived 30 minutes or longer, suffering, they need to be in jail for the rest of their life because that is fucking disgusting. And I just don't understand how you live with yourself. That's my whole issue with it. Yes, and there's people, y'all, there's people that are innocent that go to jail, and there are people that are guilty that end up walking. But this was a very horrific crime, and these kids died scared to death, and that is fucking awful. That is my worst nightmare. That shit right there. Oh my God. And whoever did this, literally, that's a personal crime. Whoever did this and they're just living okay, there's something, medicine cannot help these people, okay? Because there's no way you're going to tell me 20 and 21-year-olds did something to, like, mm-mm. And I really think it was a paid for hire type thing. Like, I think somebody was paid to do it. And that makes it even worse. That means that the rage that was coming out, it probably wasn't even personal. So that makes the person even more dangerous to me. So, you know, I don't know why people are still sending their kids. Anyway. Money and power, and money and power. And when people learn that, and it's not just at a university, it's not just whatever, these frats, this is how these kids could become politicians that are crooked, that pay people off so they can blackmail people, make people scared. And that's why Trisha's not scared. They can, and I'm not saying if somebody come up and was going to shoot me, I wouldn't be scared right then. I'm just saying they can take me out, but they can't have my soul. So I will die for the truth, because I'm not fit. Ain't nobody fixing to blackmail me, and I'm not fixing to take up for nobody that did no shit like that. That's what started this shit way back, probably when the Bible was written before. Blackmail and having something over on somebody. Well, that's why you live your truth, and nobody can blackmail you about your life. Go on and own up to your mistakes, and don't worry about it. Because if not, somebody gonna blackmail you. Well, I'll just tell you every fucked up thing I've ever done. Because I ain't got time for it. And teach your kids not to be followers, to be leaders. I don't mean be dictators. I mean be leaders. Because followers now get them fentanyl. So, you know, teach them to stand in their truth. Own up. If they steal something, you get on to them then. And I'm not telling people how to be parents, but I'm just saying, if you take up for them, they're going to think somebody's supposed to the whole time. Even if they don't like somebody, even if somebody treated them like shit, you still, you know what I mean? Stay away from them, but you don't. My mama was like that. It don't matter. I wasn't allowed to say I hated nobody, and it don't matter if they treated me like shit, I still wasn't allowed to turn around and do the same thing to them. Because you can love your kids to death, and teaching them somebody's going to get them out of something is how that starts. Yeah, we wouldn't. And if I said somebody stole something, y'all, my mama would have beat my ass if I accused somebody of stealing something and they didn't steal it. Like, that's just the way it was. And my mama was mentally, I mean, she was alcoholic for a while. She was crazy for real, but there was just certain things. That, and you could say the MF word, but you didn't say fart or the CUNT word. If you said CUNT, I wouldn't be alive. Rap stars don't even say that. My ex and his dad says that word. I hate that word. They don't even put it in rap songs, so you know. I hate that word. See you next Tuesday. Somebody taught me that. I hate that word. But my mama would die. You could say the MF word, though, but you didn't say fart neither, because she'd knock you out. I have no idea. She was ass backwards, that's all. Well, thank God my mama didn't live in Australia. That word is dirt, like, just, I don't know. It just is. It's just gross. All right, Kane, what are we watching? I know you put a link in there. You're going to put it in there again. What am I watching? I was talking. I just like to explain to the guilters that come in here, or I don't even like to call them guilters because you can think the man's guilty. Just don't come in here telling me some shit that he stalked, whatever. Yeah, they were probably stalked. I don't think Brian Koberger stalked him. Even if he had something to do with the crime, he didn't stalk him because that's not the way organized crime works. They don't have the people that do the whatever to stalk. They are very well operational. So, next time's on. And Kane, you know how T-Rev is now. He fits into like, I really don't care about Colorado, but I don't feel like having to deal with it because I cannot deal with. Look, because I'll be done went to jail for like some terroristic threats or something, and I don't want to have to deal with none of that shit. So is he gonna like have a fit or something? Because I'm not in the mood today. I would have to have all my mods take care of it. Who? But you know, T-Rev, I'm sorry, and if he hears this, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, most men do get whiny, but he gets whiny about shit, and I don't feel like having to deal with a bunch of his shit, and then if he got that damn little yapping girl he had and all that kind of stuff, because Trisha is not, I don't do a whole lot of mouth talking, okay? So, I'm just telling you. Oh, my Lord. So, anybody know whether T-Rev is going to whine about this? I mean, I don't, it's not like I have a million people watching me anyway, and I'm glad to because I like my little community. I'm not trying to be YouTube popular. I know it. That's why I said that too fast for fleas, because I'm not in the mood to deal with nobody's yapping. He's got 1 million followers. I don't have near as, and I ain't trying to have that many neither, but he come over here yapping at me, and Lord, I can't do it. Oh my, no, can't, oh my, no the hell you're not. That is awful. Isn't Vinnie Paul, however you say that man's last name, that lawyer, or that Hollywood lawyer, you know, I wonder if they really, anyway. Well, T-Rev gets his panties in water, his underwear in a wad, or what the fuck ever in a wad, if he thinks people are making fun of him or something, and then, like, he did have I don't remember that girl's name, but anyways, I don't do females. You know, when they try to Billy Badass somebody because somebody's watching a damn YouTube video of their boyfriends, you know how girls act. Lord have mercy. I cannot do female, like I cannot. That's why the females I talk to are the females I talk to, like Heather, because they're not normal females. They're different. That's why I talk to them. I did not hang out with females when I was in junior high because them bitches were stupid. Like, they did all this crazy stuff in front of guys, like falling out and being dramatic and shit. Like, they were retarded or something. I mean, I hate that word. I shouldn't use that word. But I don't call people that. Anyways, I shouldn't say that word at all. But, like, they were stupid, okay? And I didn't understand all that. All them guys wanted to do was sleep with them. And they over there acting like they need them or something. What the hell is that? All they doing is want to sleep with you. Then they going to tell everybody. And then try to get 5 of your friends, too. So, what the hell y'all doing? Anyway. Heather's not normal. Christy's not normal. Meg P's not normal. My friends, I don't have YouTube friends. I just have real friends. When I say normal girls, I mean dramatic, like fake dramatic. I don't know how to explain. You know, them girls. I don't know. I didn't mean to say the R word, and I don't call people that have disabilities. I don't use that word with them at all, because that's, you don't call people that have disabilities. I think we're good. What the hell? I've never called anybody with, yeah, I don't do that. I used to go to the, I don't know what they call it, the class, like for the kids that had the problems or whatever. Like, all them kids loved me. I used to go take them to recess and do all that kind of stuff. So, Kane, okay, you're going to deal with him. I'm telling you, if he comes up here, why? Because I cannot. I cannot. Victorian is not a normal girl. Carla's not normal. Pretty much all the girls in here are not what I consider a normal girl. Like, normal, I don't know. Sadly, there's more guys nowadays that act like girls. Anyway, I can't go there. The roles reversed. Something was in the water or something, because it's been weird. What? Well, yeah, and I don't use that word. Like, I would never call somebody that had a disability that. That's not a word, and I don't know who the hell started using it for that, but I call idiots that don't have disabilities, that just ain't got no common sense. That's what I call that. Oh, God. But I catch myself, because some people will, but I don't like that word to be used. I've never used it for that reason. Okay, hang on. Kane, I'm telling you. I meant to pin that. I will get this thing too and pin it for y'all in case people come in here that want it. And I swear, if he has a fit, y'all are dealing with him. What in the freak? Can't. Hang on. We have a tornado thing. Oh, we have a tornado threat. It ain't even raining yet. Well, if something happens and y'all hear something that sounds like a train and then y'all don't hear me no more, I might have got hit by a tornado. Who knows? Where in the hell? I think I got his name wrong. I'm asking you now. He ain't talking to no damn box thing, is he? Because I can't even do that, because that just wigs me out. I don't know what he's doing, but I don't think he's doing something right. Something. Turn my camera on for what? What apples? What are y'all talking about? I'm not turning my camera on, Twiz. I'm fixing to play this thing. Okay, so it's the one that he just did, right? Kane, the last one he did or whatever. 4 hours ago, or the one he did one FBI agent drops bombshell 4 hours ago. Is that what you're talking about? Let me go back to the damn chat because I can't see. Oh my God, if you put the link in here one more damn time. Hang on. I don't know why it's opening on that. All right, hang on. Jeez. Oh, Jesus Christ, that's loud. Wait a minute.
Taxes.
Stop it. All right, hang on. Yeah, I just had that up, damn it. All right, let me make my picture go away. And that. And that. And that. And that. Well, wait a minute. What the hell? We're just going to let the troll spin up here because I can't make it go away right now. I don't know why. What in the hell is wrong with this window? Hang on. Y'all gotta wait a minute. I gotta redo this window because it's being stupid. All right, let's try this again, shall we? Stupid thing. All right. Ah, this damn thing right here. Okay. Get to this stupid thing when I do that though. All right. Okay.
Last time on T-Rev.
This footage that's being released, do you think it's authentic, being there's no verification to it?
It's
or
just
no
not positioned correctly, really, to see the parking lot that we're looking at. And also, if you look at the probable cause affidavit, it's very specific about how they believe Brian Kohberger in his Hyundai Elantra did 3-point turns and did his drive-bys. It's super specific, and I think it's based on other video.
What are your? This is the footage, but came out and said there's no that's being. This footage that's being released, do you think it's authentic, being there's no verification to it, or no validation? Nobody came out and said, well, this is the footage, but what are your takes on the footage that dropped?
So my take on this new footage is I just don't know that I trust it or that it can be believed. And even if it is authentic, which there's really nothing to tell me it's authentic, I'm really leaning toward the other position. It's just not positioned correctly really to see what we're looking at. I actually posted on Twitter the line of sight, how far it was away, so people could see that I don't believe that's the parking lot that we're looking at. And also, if you look at the probable cause affidavit, it's very specific about how they believe Brian Kohberger in his Hyundai Elantra did 3-point turns and did his drive-bys. It's super specific, and I think it's based on other video. Video.
Will the medical examiner be able to tell if all wounds were 100% made by the same weapon?
So we don't know because the ME never gave that specificity, but certainly it's implied. It's implied throughout the probable cause affidavit that it would be the same weapon, but it's not specifically said. So I always try to stay away from what is 100% known from the words that were said and what is implied. And if I say something that's implied, I'm going to let you know. So I believe, based on my training, experience, similar crimes, all that we know, I believe it is one weapon, one perpetrator.
One weapon, one perp. You guys heard it.
Last time on T-Rev.
Did you know paying your bills on time raises your credit score, right? Wrong. In fact, this is the first of 3 major credit score lies you're being told by the big credit companies. Fall for any of these 3 lies and it doesn't matter what you do. Getting to 720 and above will be a long, hard struggle, if you ever get there at all. In fact, if you're one of the 153 million Americans with a credit score below 720, it's probably because you've unknowingly fallen for one or more of these 3 deadly.
You made a great point on Twitter the other day, and I thought it was awesome because you said, specifically, you were like, they never said there's no other DNA. They're only talking about the one on the sheet. So that right there kind of opened my eyes to, wow, maybe I think she's onto something. I think maybe there is other DNA.
Right, there's so much we don't know. I would say, T-Rev, that when we get to the trial phase, which I think will be years from now, possibly, I think that we are going to see so much more information. And in fact, I know that to be the case because a probable cause affidavit was done very early on in the case after about really 10 to 12 days of true investigation. When I say that, it's because in the early days, in the early month of the investigation, they were just trying to narrow down people. They were just trying to establish alibis for different suspects. They were just trying to figure out who this could be. But once they honed in on Brian Kohberger as a possible subject, which really started because of that Elantra, which they started looking into at the very end of November. In December, they subpoenaed his telephone information. Well, that led them to all this activity near and around 1122 King Road. So now they're really starting to see, this is problematic. This is a clue, right? And so they started going down that evidence trail. But then once the evidence really started coming in, the videos started coming in, they put him under surveillance. They had a very short time to write that probable cause affidavit. So it only has so much information in it.
Thank you for educating us on that. I appreciate that also. Now, another thing, and I know I'm throwing things at you, but it's just something that I question because I've seen it. What was it on Dateline and mentioned on maybe News Nation and a few others about some IDs being found, right? It was just a source. I don't know who the source is, but it was put out there, and I thought it was interesting that it was even mentioned. Do you know where that would come from, or would that just be like a source that is going to be unnamed?
Yeah, let me give you the specifics. So if you look at the affidavit return for the Pennsylvania house, his parents' house, you will see on there that there are 10 IDs that were in a glove in a box. That was really confusing at first because was it in a glove box? And I remember being on News Nation and I actually misspoke. It said glove box instead of in a glove in a box. And I had to go through and reestablish that because I just misspoke. The information, however, we don't know about the IDs other than T-Rev, and this is interesting, a source contacted someone on Mr. Cuomo's team and said there is a relation of one of those IDs to 1122 King. No one ever said it's to one of the deceased. No one ever said it's to even Dylan Mortensen or to anyone living at the house then. The only information that I was told was that it was to 1122 King Road, which is very interesting. I don't know more about it than that.
It says, why would the prosecution agree to the destruction of the house?
Well, as I see it, what's happening is, of course, the university owns it now because it was given to them by the original owner. The defense nor the prosecution are putting in a motion to keep that house erected. I find it very interesting because no matter whether I am in the defense camp or the prosecution camp, I think that house should remain. It's so important, right, T-Rev? Just imagine if you were on the jury. You would want to feel the proximity with going up the stairs from where Dylan Mortensen was to where Kaylee and Maddie were. You would want to know if you cracked open the door, what could you really see? More importantly, even than that, you would want to hear sounds. Remember, there is sound from the outside of that house that was gleaned that's used in that probable cause affidavit. I would want to have somebody go outside and speak and see, or have somebody inside speak and see if it could be heard outside. I would want to hear if I could hear footsteps. All of that's so important, and videos are great, and they're going to have a very great schematic. It's been, I really need to put it on Twitter again to show exactly what these schematics and videos can do, but nothing is like being there. Nothing's like walking it and feeling it and hearing it, nothing.
Rev Gang Strong, justice for the Idaho 4.
Without me hearing his voice, I'm like, it's unconfirmed. But if you got friends that knew him and grew up with him saying it's confirmed, then I gotta say, hey, yeah, this is probably Brian Koberger.
Good. I thought that was going to last forever. His graphic or whatever the hell that's called is good. I don't have the patience to do all that shit, and I'm not paying nobody to do it neither. Well, I would pay, like, if it was Heather or Twiz or somebody, Kane or somebody, I would, but I wouldn't just be paying somebody to do it. And I'm not paying nobody to come on this. You have to pay that woman to come spew her BS. the hell I would not. Ever, 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 never. Okay. Well, where did... Oh. Uh-oh. Oh. Uh-oh. Hang on, y'all. Oh, shit. Whoops. Hang on, y'all. Oh. Boom. There it is. We can fix the troll now. Yay. Okay. Okay, what is that? You let me get all this shit back up here, and then you're gonna tell me, plain ass. And you need to rewind, too. The very beginning will educate you a little bit. If you weren't here when I started. Don't be summoning the devil. Please. God forbid. Because I don't want to have to act like the devil. What the freak now? He's probably already lurking anyway, but still. OMO. I'm stupid as hell, that's why. Hang on, y'all. God. Alright, Kane. Hang on. I'm going to find you a rainbow-haired troll. Oh, I don't know about real life, but... Ew, Heather. Gross. What the heck? Okay.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afford.
Who is this we're watching now? Kane's just wanting this man to come over here and be acting a fool. Let me like his stuff even though... Okay. Well, to 67,000 people. He'd still worry about my little cheesy 12 people. Not that y'all are cheesy, I'm saying though. You know, people act crazy. Where in the hell? Oh. Okay. This thing is not.
Time on T-Rev.
Correctly, really to see parking lot. I believe Brian Koberger in his Hyundai Elantra did 3-point turns and did his drive-bys. It's super specific, and I think it's based on other video.
Footage that's being released, do you think it's authentic, being there's no verification to it or no no validation.
Ken, I
Nobody
just
came out and said that this
accidentally
is the footage, but
did
what do you
something. I
take
think
on
I
the footage?
unblocked you, but I accidentally
So my take
hit the
on
wrong
this
damn. Did I unblock him? Oh God! Now I got to give you a wrench back. Hang on. Sorry, Fane. Hang on. I hit the wrong damn thing. Sorry. Wait a minute. Calm down. Oh, you shouldn't have sent me so many damn links. Wait a minute. Shit, my stomach hurts now. Oh, wait. Oh, I see how I did that, because that's the wrong chat thing. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, Lord have mercy. Let me fix Kane. Hang on, Kane. I don't know. I mean, why is that right there? All I did was, it said hide user on this channel. Is that how you block people? Oh, that's why I couldn't find the block button. It just says hide user on this channel. Oh, well, that makes sense now. But I didn't mean to hit that anyway. Okay. There, you're back. Okay, there, you're back. Oh, Kane's got to be a whole lot easier to fit. Never mind. Christy, you should have told me to shut up. Okay, I'll send you the link again. Sorry. Oh, shit. See, people that are sulking and acting like the devil today are missing all this, but he'd probably get pissed off because people was laughing, so it's all good. Shit me. Okay. I hope he's lurking too, and I hope he hears every damn thing I'm saying. He's probably mad at me anyway, because I think I told him I hated him earlier. Probably did. Hang on, y'all. Alright. Well, shit in hell, did I do that wrong? No, okay. I put that on there. Okay. I'm going to also pin this thing, so y'all have it. If y'all want it, it's in my Google Docs, the Do Some Tech'em, whatever the hell the thing's called. See if I can do this without blocking anybody on accident. Pin message. Okay. If y'all go there, that's got the thing that the lady and her husband gave me, the prosecution. Her and her husband both work for, they're on the state line somewhere, and her husband works in one state, she works in the other, but they're prosecutors. Okay. Is this what we're watching, Kane? For the love of whatever. Operation GC. Who is GCD? Wait a minute. Oh, I was thinking of somebody else. That's not who that is. Never mind. Sensei. Okay. 1 second, y'all. I gotta not get trigger happy. I'll be done blocked everybody. Hang on.
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. I'd fuck me hard.
Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, host of Operation GCD, back here for Fridays. However, my co-host Nick will not be joining us tonight. In his place, we got Nate. host of Reality Czars podcast. Nate, appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, man. This was a lot of fun the last time I was on, and I'm excited to be here.
Nice. Appreciate you here. Yeah, Nick he came down with some sort of flu bug, so hopefully he'll be back next week. But yeah, I enjoyed our last conversations on here, Nate, so definitely looking forward to another. I'm actually just coming back from injured reserve myself. I blew out my jaw a couple weeks ago, but it's doing a lot better now.
Good, man.
Yep.
Yeah, you got a freshly shaved face, too. Didn't you have a big beard the last time I saw you?
Big beard, long hair. Still kept the headband that I used to keep my hair in bed, just for the bit. I had to clean up for some. I had to attend some family business, so cleaned up for some of those situations. But anyhow, our guest here tonight, Jonathan Mitchell. Greetings, sir. I appreciate you joining us here for a discussion here on our Friday show. We're obviously going to be discussing here you're the author of the book, the Before Son of Sam, The Submerged History of a Yonkers Cult. Looking forward to discussing some of that there with you, John.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And basically, looking forward to having a kind of a roundtable discussion on the Son of Sam murders. Very interested in hearing some of your take in regards to the kind of the evolution of activity surrounding the Maury Terry investigation and subsequent activities, post that, and basically our current state of affairs surrounding the topics.
Yes,
as you obviously have a long-term perspective and viewpoint on the matter.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about it.
Anything else you want to talk about? By all means, you got the floor there, John. And like I said, appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I was trying to find a place to start out. Usually when I do these shows, it's we tend to start out with just sort of a sketch for people that are unfamiliar with the case. What was Son of Sam? Who was David Berkowitz? Was there any evidence that he committed all of the shootings, or was there conflicting evidence somewhere? So I could go over that for folks that are unfamiliar with the case.
Sure. Well, Nate sounds like he's got a very baseline understanding, so maybe he would start there. That sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
Nate, what's your understanding of the Son of Sam? So I know Jonathan's focused not only on the Son of Sam, but some of the prelude cult activity and the epicenter of activity there in Yonkers, New York.
Sure, man. I have like a very, I just have the outline there. The first thing that caught my mind was the Berkowitz. The first thing that popped in my, because I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist, and I was like Jew. So
really?
then
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So his birth mother and his birth father were both Jewish, and I think his adopted family was also Jewish. Which is, it doesn't really matter, but that was just the first thing that and then I was also kind of shocked that he was still alive. It was kind of, I just assumed he was dead. And I was kind of
decent health. From the interviews he gives, he appears to be in decent health.
Is he actually giving out interviews? I didn't even know he was doing that.
Yeah. He's been.
We try to get him on the show. What are we doing? So yeah, he's an interesting character. I was trying to see if he was born bad. I was trying to see what snapped in him, because he seemed like he grew up a pretty normal life. He was given up for adoption, right? He was adopted by, it seemed like his folks were all right. His mom, his adopted mother, died when he was a teenager, about 14. I think that was probably pretty traumatic. Maybe his dad was kind of a dick, it kind of sounds like a little bit, but nothing that in my mind, it was also a very brief window, supposedly, that he was doing the killings. It was 1 year. It was July to July. I think it was 74 or 75 to 76 or
77. But yeah. Very, very.
That sounds. Those are some good baselines there, Nate. For John to jump in here, maybe he can fill in some of those details.
Yeah, it was just that year-long period, and he claims that he didn't even join the group until 1975. So that's still a pretty brief window there, although there is some evidence that he was at least acquainted with or aware of the cult prior to that. And, he had a friend who also knew the Carr brothers, who figure heavily in the story, and this friend allegedly was still involved in the cult during the Son of Sam years. So Berkowitz may have at least been aware of the cult prior to 1975.
Interesting. So, that's a very big turning point, because his exit from the army. So, Nate, you were mentioning his kind of his childhood. He seemed to have a tumultuous childhood, sure, but it seems like whatever went on in dude's life went on during his years in the army, and kind of his transition, at least mentally speaking, into adulthood. There, he went into the army. I believe it was for 3 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. I believe it was 3 years there, from 72 to 75.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest with you, I've asked this question to a lot of folks, and I've never gotten any answer, seen any documents. I question his exit from the army. So he alleged from many stories, at least letters to some of his friends, he apparently wrote, he lit the NCO club on fire over there in Korea, the army base in Korea he was stationed at. If that's true, he would have got a dishonorable discharge, and he got a dishonorable discharge. Well, he's not getting a security guard license in the state of New York. He's not getting hired by the post office because a dishonorable discharge has more weight than a federal felony. Like federal felonies are a better stat. You want to have that, better more than a dishonorable discharge.
I couldn't find what he did. I was looking briefly, but it just said that he left honorably. He had an honorable discharge, which is kind of interesting. Right. And there's always that weird, the folks that are in the military, they're acting funny, that do some dumb shit, and they have to kick them out. And they end up having like federal connections and things like that. And I always kind of question, especially during that era with serial killers in general, it almost seemed like most of it was an op. Like most of it was some MK Ultra interesting stuff, which also has cult ties. Some of those satanic cult ties. I think a lot of that is deep state, MK Ultra type of things.
Well, that's a good point. I often wonder what the crossover was between, if there was ever any interactions between Michael Aquino and Berkowitz at his last station there at Fort Knox. They seem to have some overlap in time frames. But so, John, what got you started on this path as far as writing your book, the Before the Son of Sam book, The Submerged History of Yonkers Cult, which I think is a great way to put the whole scene in perspective of how there was, a lot of existing cult activity, prior to this era of the mid 1970s and late 1970s, these murders. But right. what got you interested in the subject in general?
I just picked up Maury's book. I didn't really know much about the case, but I found a copy at a used bookstore, and I was immediately fascinated with it. Even though it by necessity, it was missing a lot of the names, and he used a lot of aliases, for various players in the story. But I took notes on it myself, and I was just really impressed by Maury's research and his writing ability and everything. And then about 2002, I ran into someone who had worked at the Magical Child Bookshop in New York, and I asked him what his opinion of the case was, and he was not a fan of Maury at all. Yet he said, one platform, and I was familiar with Maury's work in the newspapers, prior to the release of the book, and he said, I believe not only was he right that there was a cult and that more than one person than Berkowitz was involved, but that Maury got the specific participants right, meaning the Carr brothers and these other folks. So he said, in spite of the fact that he did not care for Maury, he believed that Maury's thesis was basically correct. So from there, I just I poked around, here and there wherever I could. I started to do some newspaper research, and then got into it full time about late 2018, early 2019.
Okay, well let me interject you real quick, because you hit some good details there I was unfamiliar with. So you met somebody who worked at the Magical Child bookstore, huh? Was it Peter Levenda?
No, it was another individual. We met on a Zodiac killer chat board, actually. Because there's such a wide range of people that were interested in that too. But he had mentioned his background. I thought, well, since he was around for some of this as it was happening, I couldn't resist asking him about the Ultimate Evil. So it was a brief conversation, but it was as specific, I think, as he cared to be. But it's interesting that I've told people that back 20, 25 years ago, you could have a legitimate discussion about the case even with people who weren't fans of Maury or Maury's work or whatever.
Right.
And they didn't try to dismiss Maury out of hand and call him a crackpot and call him all these silly names and stuff. The case now is that the other team is completely just irrational and they don't, they're just inordinately hostile to everybody.
Seems very vitriolic with all their messaging, right? Everything, all their communication seems very vitriolic to me.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and you probably have a lot more insight of that than I do from just kind of watching things, unfold. Because I believe you were involved in some research teams. Is that correct? In recent years, with some of this vitriolic nature of activities that popped off. Yeah,
and it was tough, because I assumed these people, like one individual in particular, was my friend, because we were. This was during COVID, so a lot of us were home, and we had a little more time to devote to all this research. So we talked to each other nearly every day, and you get pretty close to people under those circumstances, and you just on the basis of the research, you assume that you're all on the same page. Yep. But things got very weird, and I figured out very quickly that we were not all on the same page, unfortunately. But 2021 was a weird period there. That first half of that year.
Yeah, I like to put a pin on that point as far as some of these activities surrounding some, and this information that's popped off in recent years. Because I want to go back to this magical child situation. That's a very fascinating place to me. And Nate, are you familiar with? Have you ever heard of the Magical Child bookstore? It's one of two only occult bookstores in all of New York City.
No, I'm not familiar with it at all. Actually,
have you ever seen the film Ghostbusters?
Yes. Is that where they found it?
Yeah, Aykroyd based his occult bookstore off of the Magical Child. So this was popular amongst occultists of all varieties. OTO folks, Satanist folks, Mormon folks, Process Church folks, all these characters. Peter Levenda worked there part-time, apparently, according to himself. And again, he's an interesting character, I think, relative to the whole Berkowitz storyline, too, because Peter Levenda went to the same high school and ran around the same social circles, apparently, by his own admission, with David Berkowitz. I actually suspect there's probably more of a, and I don't know, Johnny may have some thoughts on it. I don't want to get too far off on a different tangent. I just think there may be more to the storyline as far as Levenda and his buddy and how maybe Berkowitz ever got linked up with the cars in the first place.
It's always possible that more info is going to emerge because this case is, I've seen things that I never thought would happen. I've talked to people that I never expected to talk, and things just got, there's always more information out there. The individual I spoke to, he also worked at the shop and he loved Herman. I think he considered Herman Slater, the owner, sort of a surrogate father, basically. But Herman would lose his temper and he would fire the guy multiple times, and then he always hired him back. So he had a genuine affection for the store and the person that owned it. But he also had been active in the OTO for a while, and all he told me about that was that it was an acquired taste. So.
Well, that's a weird statement. It's a very weird statement. That's a very weird statement. So Herman Slater is an interesting character, though. So Nate, the guy that ran the Magical Child, he would appear on, what was it, maybe Maury Povich or something, opposite Maury Terry, debating these topics of satanic cults and, not specifically the Son of Sam, but the whole satanic panic movement. You'd have folks like Herman Slater here, the owner of this bookstore, opposite Maury Terry on the early 90s TV circuit discussing these topics. Then later I find out, and speaking with all this information that Johnny, you were saying has popped off in recent years, the release of all these the variations of different Terry files, I'll argue, and I'll go back to it here in a moment with you. But the release of all these files, and Terry had on a list Herman Slater as a member of the cult. So, he's literally apparently going on TV, with full mindset that he's debating a dude from the cult about the cult. You know what I mean? That's got to be a rough environment to go, to voluntarily put yourself into.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I have a lot of respect for the man and his work. He may be incorrect in some of his assessments. I'm sure he faced a lot of intentional misleading. Various,
I think he did, but he really had to go head to head with these people because they were ready to misrepresent him and to misdirect. Yeah. So that's a good way to frame it. That's what I was trying to get at there with him voluntarily going on these shows, knowing, according to his own notes, knowing that this dude that he's debating is a member of the cult that he's debating about, right? That's the balls right there. Yeah, and these were very, Herman was even by the kindest estimation, he was a strange person, and arguably, according to some evidence, more than strange. He was dangerous. So, yeah,
very odd stuff. So, 2018, you got real heavy into the research, and then you said you were working in a research group come 2020, but you wrote your book was published in 2020. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, I met some of the folks that I worked with shortly after I published the first version. Then a few months later, there was some additional information that I'd found out and a couple of corrections I wanted to make. So I just added some, a little bit of text to the same book. And but yeah, the first version came out, in fact, almost exactly 5 years ago. It was in February 2020. So
okay, nice.
Yeah, and it put me in contact with various folks, and unfortunately,
that's what got you connected was the publishing of the book. You got connected with. Oh, nice. Okay.
Some folks reached out to me, and I think sadly, people not everybody did this, but some people misrepresented themselves at the beginning. And I was working elbow to elbow with them, and unfortunately their objective was different than mine was.
Yeah, it's such an odd environment, isn't it? So I've been following these activities, and to be honest with you, I got into the Son of Sam case through Charles Manson, strangely enough, in that and kind of researching my own heritage. I hail from Fairfield County, Connecticut, and specifically the town of Ridgefield, just across the border there from Westchester County. Actually, my family's home was 2.5 miles away from the Process Church headquarters there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There in Westchester County. It's basically the same road. You just, you take it's a T intersection. One of them, you stay in the state, the other one goes across the border into Connecticut, and we had lived right across the border into Connecticut. So I just, looking at that whole area, there's a lot of weird, looking at the whole ultimate evil narrative of all the recruitment of Boy Scout troops and stuff like that in the Westchester County area. it seems all that stuff is going on in the Fairfield County, in the Connecticut region as well. And again, all that weird stuff going on in and around the town of Ridgefield, that whole area, just opposite of, opposite of the that area of Westchester County that seems particularly creepy, if you ask me. That nature preserve region, the Hollywood film sets. They filmed a lot of Hollywood movies right over in that little corner of the county there in Westchester, right where the Process Church set up shop is. Just adjacent to, once again, film studios. It seems like everywhere they go is from Charles Manson and the Spawn Ranch to the Kanab, Utah Best Friends Animal Society, buying off all that Disney film studio property, and well, not just Disney, but large part Disney. It seems where they go is film studios, movie ranches, if you will.
Yeah, I think they do enjoy being in close proximity to film and filmmakers. Yes, absolutely.
Right. It seems to go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, it does. It does, eerily so. And in fact, I had to make a little bit of a case for that in my book with a really low budget film that unfortunately not many people have seen. It was just kind of a cheap drive-in horror movie, but it was called Invasion of the Blood Farmers. It was shot just about 20 miles north of Yonkers, but still in Westchester County. And the everything about the film, it's just like a thinly fictionalized version of the story that we're talking about. It's this group of dirt farmers. They're disguised as dirt farmers. They're actually druids, and they're trying to resurrect their queen through taking the blood of both human and animal victims. Anybody familiar with the larger story that Maury told in The Ultimate Evil is going to find a lot of the plot points of that movie eerily familiar. It's a terrible movie, but there's so much in it that's relevant in relation to this case. But it's a strange little movie. But yeah, it was filmed in Westchester too in 1972.
Interesting. Yeah, a lot of strange stuff going on there. So yeah, I getting back to the kind of the evolution of things from my perspective. So I've been following these things. I don't know, at least more specifically conversations relative specifically to the process since around 20. I said probably 20. Circa 20. No, lose y'all. My back.
Okay, yeah, you're back. Yeah, I was wondering if it was on my end or if okay.
So, circa 2013, the only folks on the interwebs talking about these subjects, specifically the Process Church and the Son of Sam, both Maury Terry's investigations, generally speaking, was Ed Opperman. I've just I've been on Opperman's show before. We've communicated various topics. He has some good assessments. A lot of these or good analysis on a lot of these cult activities. I think surrounding these topics, and again, because he's got the evolution of a lot of the the discussion, a lot of the knowing a lot of the characters involved. Jim Rothstein. He's done numerous interviews with him over the years. So these are the things I've kind of followed. And really over the, I know he's a contentious character. I'm seeing some comments in the chat. I know he's a contentious character, but he nonetheless he is a bit of a historian in these topics relative to his catalog of interviews and again interactions. Because again, I'm not familiar with. Were you part of this infamous Maury Terry Facebook group? These are things I never really were involved with, but
I never was. I'm just not a great social media person, so I was really never on Facebook for very long. But Ed had me on his show a couple of times, and my experience was nothing but great with him. I enjoyed doing the show, and he gave me a platform at a time when a lot of this really terrible stuff was happening and misleading information was getting out, and he allowed me to get on and correct the record. So it was really good to be on there.
Sure. Yeah. I heard that interview. It was a good interview for sure. And I highly recommend folks check that out. Even if you don't like Ed Opperman, check out John's interviews on there because he goes into some of these discussions, if I remember correctly.
That's right. Yeah.
Regarding how all of a sudden, he was getting a lot of messages from folks being sent to him, on these topics that all of a sudden there's an uptick in interest. And it's very curious. What is that uptick in interest? Is it the same uptick in interest that has generated now numerous Netflix documentaries on the topic?
Yeah.
Seems to be a concerted effort to me. I mean, these are my opinions on the matter from looking over, watching these subjects, reading, I read The Ultimate Evil for the first time probably around 2015, I think it was. At the same time I was getting really into Charles Manson. I read every book on, The Family, Ed Sanders, The Family, great book on Manson. Highly recommend his stuff. Yeah. Looking at his notes, I was shocked to learn him and Terry remained, close associates for many years up until Terry's death. But it seems that Terry's death was the precipitating event that caused the onslaught of this.
Yeah, I think so. And then a couple of years after that, Berkowitz gave a CBS News interview for the 40th anniversary, I guess, of his arrest, and it was garbled. You could see the video edits, in the interview, and they were just like piecing parts of different sentences together. And I talked to a lot of people after that interview aired who said that was just bizarre. They did a really terrible job with that. And I said, yeah, I thought they did too. And what they were trying to make it sound like was that he had just confessed to the whole hog there, but I don't think they left even one sentence of his intact in that interview. But yeah, there was some interest after that as well. And then I think The Ultimate Evil was out of print for a while. which I didn't realize when I published my book, but people came forward and told me that when I published.
Sure.
And they said that my book at one point was about the only thing that they could get to read on it. And so I tried to encourage everybody to find an old paperback copy of Maury's book if they could, because it was, what I had written would really make a lot more sense if they had read Maury first. So, but yeah,
Sure.
yeah, fortunately it's back in print now, albeit in a butchered version, unfortunately.
Well, I don't know where you started that tangent there, John, but you made a good point there. You cut out there for a moment, but you made a good point there about the paper version versus the digital version.
Yeah.
Because and back to this where I cut out when we were talking about the concerted effort situation of this nonsense this surrounds these topics these days.
Yeah.
The new digital version, when the new print version from Mr. Siemens, the director of the Netflix documentary The Sons of Sam, Dana, there's been some comments in the chat about Dana over there at Roddy Jules and her research team, and something they've concluded over there was comparing the print version versus the digital version, and there's been a number of revisions, including an entire chapter wiped out, a very important chapter.
Lots of stuff left out, and crucial stuff in many cases. names that are relevant, and the older a copy that people can find, the better off they'll be with Maury's work. It was a really unfortunate thing that happened with the latest printing of the book. So I would advise people to stay away from that. But yeah, it was. I don't think it was the accident either.
Oh, I don't think it's when you're wiping out an entire chapter on the death mask murders. Which, Nate, if you've ever heard of some of these murders in New York City around the gay S&M community, the gay clubs, it's very reminiscent of a proto smiley face killer type of murder. To be quite honest with you,
I actually had Nick come on. I think we talked a little bit about that. That was. Yeah. Well, specifically, that is interesting. Jonathan, I had a quick question for you. And of course, this is all speculation, but you were saying that you had a researcher that was working with you for the book, right? And then at the end, he was kind of twisting some of the information, or he had a different, how much of that do you think are disinformation agents? The way I look at it, especially the mainstream version of Netflix series now, where people are getting overly obsessed with serial killers and true crime and this and that. I almost see it as a way of because they'll even cover things like Jeffrey Epstein and things like that. You're going to have the big guys talking about Jeffrey Epstein. It seems like a way of just painting the narrative and having the allowable version of what happened, and so they can cover up all the actual crazy shit that happened. It seems very concerted. It seems like it's very planned. I think, especially with Netflix nowadays, that's Edward Bernays' nephew, Mark Rudolph, right? That's it's pretty fascinating. He was the father of propaganda, right? It seems like all of this has connections back to, again, always back to the CIA, to me, MK Ultra. All of this stuff seems pretty connected with the CIA and things like that, covering things up. And you get what's the word that I'm looking for? You get a limited hangout, right? And so you get to talk about the bad guy, but you get to talk about it in this kind of in the 3x5 card of allowable.
Yes, I could not agree more. And there's one person in particular who is guilty of that. And I think a lot of this is largely choreographed and deliberate. I wrote the book on my own, and then what I found as I progressed into research with my former colleagues is they never came right out and said, we want you to change some of the conclusions that you came to in your book, but that was the general idea. There started to be more and more friction about particular conclusions about particular suspects that I had made. And I knew I was right because I had done the research to begin with, and then I was continuing the research even as we worked together. And there were a couple of suspects in particular, and a couple of situations related to Son of Sam that they really, when I persisted in researching these areas, they really had a problem with it. So I think a lot of this is it's a calculated effort, unfortunately. And
for sure, well financed.
Yeah, a lot of media and government weight behind them. Yeah.
They get nervous when you're hovering over the target.
Yes, yes, they do, and their nervousness rapidly turns into querulous anger, and then they get really petty about some things, But I'm pretty stubborn, so I just stuck to my guns.
So, Jonathan, I also briefly read just a little connection that was David Berkowitz. Was he a member of the Process Church? But also, I heard that he was a member of the Scientology. Is that correct, or where's the connection there?
He was, he joined the Yonkers cult. There's a little bit of, and I think this is one of the areas that's a little confusing in Maury's book, is there was a pre-existing cult in Yonkers that started in about the early to mid 50s. The Process came into the picture somewhere in the late 60s, early 70s. And they sort of co-opted this pre-existing cult. The cult was still there, and they still met in Untermeyer Park, but it appears to be the Process that was calling a lot of the shots by that point. So David may have never been a member of the process per se, but he definitely was a member of the local Yonkers cult, and they got their marching orders from the process at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and then the process moved out of Manhattan about 1978, or at least a wing of the process did, and relocated to Atlanta.
Yeah, Dave, if I can put a better perspective or just a different perspective on the idea of the process, like different isn't not just thinking of it as a generally accepted just cult. I look at it more as you're pointing out the intelligence Satanists, intersection of these activities.
Yeah.
So this was a roll up operation in my opinion. So they're rolling up these various cults, and that's why they have the 4 deities as their gods: Jesus, Satan, Lucifer, and Jehovah, because that way they can basically roll up any cult into their mix, right? So it's a roll up operation for hood rat shit, which, as John pointed out, they go to Atlanta, and what pops off in Atlanta, the Atlanta child killings.
That's right. Yeah, the process were, I feel pretty satisfied to say that they emerged directly from MI6, British intelligence, Tavistock Institute. That was the ground out of which the process grew. Yeah.
I totally agree with you there. And Tavistock, they got their hands in all sorts of activity, including the transgendered apocalypse that's currently plaguing the Western world. That actually originated in Tavistock.
Yes.
Recently got shut down too. The UK government was like, Tavistock, you're done. So see how that works out.
There does seem to have finally been a line that people were unwilling to go beyond. So yeah.
Which is good. I mean, as a victim of the transpocalypse myself, the introduction to tonight's show, Buffalo Jared Revisa, currently awaiting murder trial in the states of Connecticut and Massachusetts for a multi-state stabbing spree where he also pissed on a McDonald's. I don't know why he did that, but it's what he did. So it was a fun-filled afternoon for old Buffalo Jared, but he clearly, he's a very, I kind of view him as a mind-controlled mind-controlled transpocalypse situation of these killers that have been popping off. And I don't know that that's all that different from the Son of Sam situation, because, that's kind of the goal, from my assessment, at least, that's kind of the goal of this wrap-up operation of the process. That seems to be kind of the goal, is to do these various, not just small chaotic events creating chaos throughout specifically America, but I don't give a shit about other countries. But they're associated with almost every major socio-political assassination murder event for the last 50 years. So and the origin. So there is, I'm sure John's fully aware of this contentious subject of the process, because you watch things like, again, this concerted effort, right? The propaganda, as you're pointing out with the Netflix, there is the Sons of Sam documentary. It says the process disbanded in 1974, which is the official, ridiculous tagline that gets repeated over and over. It's clearly false. I mean, it's all false on its face.
Yeah.
There's really the debate doesn't exist except for the people trying to lie about it, right? But so you have that whole debate, but regardless of that debate, these people can call themselves whatever they want. They're doing the same activities, and time again, from RFK, to the Son of Sam, to essentially attempts on Gerald Ford. If you want to bring in the Manson situation, as Maury does in The Ultimate Evil, and I think he does it for great reason. There's some deep Manson process connections. So and there's a lot to be said for these activities, and a lot of things that have gotten ignored over the years that have come to light in recent years. Is the Westchester County is a hotbed of activity with the Process Church. So, it's not just the Yonkers cult, as you're pointing out, John, that Berkowitz is clearly a part of, but seems to have been, as you're pointing out, the puppet masters of that Yonkers cult was, by the 1970s, was members of the Process, and Berkowitz has pointed these people out.
That's right. Yes.
In fact, the guy he pointed out lives a very, very affluent lifestyle in a very prosperous Baltimore, Maryland suburb, which I say prosperous. There's not very many Baltimore, Maryland suburbs that are they're pretty rough around there. So there's a few nice areas of town. The healthcare CEO killer Luigi Mangione, he grew up in a nice area of the suburbs of Baltimore. Well, I'd say this is the second nice area with the former or probably still current Process guy who.
Speaking of MK Ultra puppets, that could have been another one.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yes, this individual in Maryland, he just tells people that he was in a commune. He just says he spent the wacky 60s and early 70s in a commune, and I believe he leaves it at that. So yeah.
That's possibly one of the greater tragedies of this entire tale. Is a lot of these folks that were involved in this hood rat shit and around the process and around the Son of Sam Yonkers cult. They went on to die of an old age.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, lived out their natural lives.
And speaking of Netflix, the popular Netflix series Stranger Things, I believe one of the producers of that show was a fellow by the name of Gadusek. In fact, that fellow's uncle was Carlton Gadusek.
Yeah,
he was a member
there's a loaded name. Yeah,
he's a member. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's an integral member, right, in the Yonkers cult scene. Correct, John?
He is alleged to have been. Yeah, and people should know he actually was a convicted child molester. We're not just talking hypotheticals. He actually was convicted and served a year in prison. So yeah.
What was he bringing, like 50 young boys back from Micronesia or some nonsense?
Yeah, lots of boys, and he right around the investigation into Gadjusek and the reopening of the Son of Sam case in 1996. I think a lot of minds started to change even back then because suddenly more specific information was available, and people like Gadjusek who were allegedly connected to the case, you could suddenly see real names and faces that were connected to the case, whereas before it was something you read in a book and it was interesting, but you think like, well, geez, can I research this or can I find out these people's names? And all of a sudden you saw more, at least a few more names and faces, and the case became a lot more concrete for a lot of people.
It is funny. It's funny. All of these people are always related, like you said. So like that Netflix, that guy that made the Project Monarch, that connection right there with the MK Ultra stuff. Yeah, with Stranger Things.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's big time. Mind control, project stuff.
All these
so do you know who got? So after Nate, you'll enjoy this fun fact about old Carlton Gadjusek. After he left the Yonkers scene there, he moved to Washington D.C. and went to go work directly for Anthony Fauci.
There you go, dude. It's a big club and you ain't in it. Yeah,
that's for damn sure. It was actually Fauci he was working for at the time when he. No one had any questions. This big fat doctor dude who works for the NIH just brings back 50 young boys from some strange South Pacific island. He's like, no, it's cool. I'm their mentor. No one had any questions for the guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's that Fauci coverage. That dude's hooked in, man. He's networked in.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I'm curious, when do we know he got involved in that cult, and how much of that? Because I'm also curious too, because he briefly mentioned, or he did start talking about like being involved in a satanic cult, but before his testimony was talking about a black dog. He was talking about a dog that was speaking to him.
Right.
Do you give that any credence? Like, how crazy was this guy? Was that after the acid wore off? You started talking about the actual stuff that was going on, or
that was Harvey. He was the Carr's dog, the Carr family's dog. No, I've never seen the least evidence that Berkowitz is insane or does not have a grip on reality. He was, I think you could say he was an unhappy person, for various reasons, but I think that's about as far as it went. He got involved with some very strange people, and then, as we were talking about earlier, there does seem to have been some event that prefigured all of this, possibly in the military or from his friendship with a mutual friend who knew both him and the Carrs. He knew this guy from a very young age, but so Berkowitz may have been introduced to, or at least made aware of the cult as early as the late 60s or early 70s. But by the time he comes back home and he's gotten involved, we know he's involved by 1975. I think he's just an unhappy person who's in over his head, and they've, the cult would threaten family members, and they would say, we're, we can hurt your parents or your siblings, whatever. And so he didn't want his father to get hurt, so he found himself doing some things that he really didn't want to do. And for what it's worth, I think he's sincerely regretful about that. I think he is still conflicted, but I think he sincerely regrets his involvement in this and the fact that he hurt anybody. The campaign to make himself look mentally unstable was just that. I think it was a campaign on the part of the group to make his confession as the lone killer more effective and believable. So yeah,
the group and Rupert Murdoch's New York Post was happy to run with it. Happy to run with these narratives.
Yes.
So as far as he goes, do you think that they sort of like found him? Because always to me, it's like they try to find, it's exactly what the FBI does now, right? Where they try to find kind of a kid that's troubled, kind of kid that, like, because it sounds like he liked to start fires in his earlier years, right? Yeah. He was kind of, they kind of found a kid who's like, he didn't have a good father figure. He was kind of a troubled kid. He had like emotional issues. He got kicked out of the military. He was perfect.
Yeah, that's prime cult material right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think they did see in him the kind of person that they could use. And as Maury said in the book, David was a little bit of a firebug. He was interested in that. And this group, you do find fires consistently year after year in the vicinity of where these people operated before and during the Son of Sam years. That this was a major preoccupation of theirs. By the time that they're planning the Son of Sam attacks, and Berkowitz is actually at the planning meeting, I think they saw him as the kind of person who was loyal enough and tight-lipped enough that he could be read into the actual planning of the attacks. So he was there when they planned it, in the spring of 1976, him and one other member of the local cult, who is an interesting figure in his own right. But yeah.
Well, if we can kind of move from there back. That's a good point that you make, John. But this cult, this Yonkers cult, as we're calling it, I've seen some comments. The Untermeyer Park was one of their primary meeting spaces, which is an interesting place. Untermeyer Park with an interesting history. But this cult before Berkowitz was there, I mean, it was recruiting teenage. Berkowitz was recruited in his early 20s, but this was recruiting folks as early as their teenage years, from my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes, very much so. All the way back in the early 60s. Excuse me, I think I may start getting a cold myself, but hope I can hold off for at least a couple hours here. But yeah, John Carr allegedly was a recruiter for the group at that point. He's 14, 15 years old, so he's recruiting people that he knows from school. And in 1961, he recruits a friend of his named Paul Rainieri, who became a very important witness later in the case that Maury interviewed extensively, and who was also interviewed by the police later in his life. But he was initiated into the cult in the spring of 1961. This was a brutal initiation where he and other teenagers were, drugged, bent over in the park, sodomized, boys and girls. They heard dogs being killed behind them. They had dog blood poured over their bodies after the dogs were killed. This is before the process ever came into the picture. This is how brutal the cult already was in the early 60s, So they were, as Maury describes it, and Paul Rainieri agreed, they were kind of a ritual magic cult. They performed rituals associated with Aleister Crowley, the Golden Dawn, that kind of stuff, but they were preoccupied primarily with sex with teenage boys, although there also were some young girls involved in it as well.
That sounds like Aleister Crowley.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, Crowley. Whenever I think of Crowley, he's definitely into butt stuff. Now
it's magic, okay? He's into magic.
Super magical.
That excuses everything. Yeah.
So speaking of these brutal initiations, John Paul Rainieri, correct me if I'm wrong, he also has a story there where he apparently would later in life drug Jeffrey Dahmer, take him back to his apartment there in Milwaukee. Rainieri was living in Milwaukee at this time. Drugs Jeffrey Dahmer at a gay club, takes him home, and brutally rapes him with like a candlestick or something like that.
I have heard different. He definitely copped to knowing Dahmer, or at least meeting him, being acquainted with him. I've heard different versions of the story.
Yeah, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's a candlestick, maybe it's a lamppost. Who knows?
Yeah, and so I don't, about the particulars. I'm not sure how.
Sure.
How it was, in reality, but he did. I'm pretty well satisfied that he actually did know Dahmer. Paul was, he's another one of these conflicted people. He had a very, he was already sort of awkward when he was initiated into the cult, and then from there, his whole existence was just so scarred, that it's almost just unbelievable how anybody could even survive those years that he survived, in the cult.
Oh, sure. I mean, that's some brutal stuff for sure.
It's painful to read about.
Absolutely.
But
stuff to witness for sure. Yeah. Even the sacrifice of animals. I mean, that's got to be some traumatizing effects on the psyche.
I think so. Yeah. He mentioned that in particular in one of his interviews with Maury. He said, I didn't see it, but I can still hear those dogs yelping and howling behind me the night that they initiated me. So it was a lifelong, nightmarish memory.
I imagine so. The Mormons forced me to chop off some chickens' heads on a Mormon pioneer camping trip when I was a teenager. Man. That's still traumatizing.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's and stuff like that does have a lingering effect. No matter, I don't care how much counseling you have or how much medication you can take. There are going to be times where you're just sitting around not thinking about anything in particular, and those things are going to come back to you. It's
and that's it.
Awful.
Yeah, for sure. I say that somewhat in jest, but obviously, the sacrifice. I mean, cut off a chicken's head, that's dinner. But obviously, witnessing the sacrifice of all these dogs, which seems to be the MO of these cults, right? Like whatever it is they're up to, there's a trail of dead dogs that goes around with this cult.
There is, and with these people in particular, the German Shepherds seem to have been really significant to their, I don't know what you would call it, doctrine or theology or whatever, but there were always German Shepherds, even before the process, which is interesting because we can trace the presence of German Shepherds in that neighborhood, in the Berkowitz neighborhood, all the way back to 1925, when a man who lived at 22 Wicker Street, which figures prominently in the case, that's right around the corner from the cars and just below the building that Berkowitz lived in, he had a vicious German Shepherd that got loose and attacked a female pedestrian. That house, 22 Wicker, is right alongside the aqueduct path that leads to Untermeyer Park. So you find the presence of these kinds of dogs in particular going all the way back, a century now. So this was in March of 1925. So something odd was happening in that neighborhood for a long time. So yeah.
So and that's kind of one of the key tenets of your book, correct? Is this cult activity that does date back in Yonkers with the similar ritualistic activities, like you're pointing out with the dead dogs, back to the 1920s.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, odd little stories.
It's a long span.
It really is, and I ran up on that story almost by accident. I was looking for something else entirely, but I kept finding odd incidents in that neighborhood, and I thought, well, what was happening here, and what was the significance of it? And there's still a lot of questions to be answered, but I think I found enough circumstantial evidence to indicate that there was cult activity there from a pretty early date. Yeah.
Now,
hey, Jonathan, we had somebody in the chat asking about your book. Do you want to do a quick plug? Her name is Katie. She has a true crime podcast. Actually, I'd love to hook you guys up after this. She has a pretty good little following there. I think that would be awesome. But here's the book. And Jonathan, if you want to just do a quick little plug, sorry, this is your show, JJ. But
no, knock it out. In fact, I sent you a private message to put that in your Rumble chat. The link.
Oh, right on.
I posted it here, but I realized it was in your Rumble chat it came from. Now go ahead, John.
Sure. Yeah, it's mainly about the cult prior to Berkowitz, although I do touch on Berkowitz and the Son of Sam murders and even the aftermath there to some extent. But it's mainly about the history of the cult prior to Berkowitz, and I just tried to make it as real and solid as I could for the reader, and use as many real names and as many real verified incidents from newspapers or research that I conducted with family members or friends of suspects and victims as I possibly could find. So it's about 45 pages long, and it's just I intended it just as a kind of supplement to Maury's book.
Awesome.
So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And Desert Rain's asking, is there another place to purchase this besides Amazon?
I don't have any hard copies now, unfortunately, but and I believe Desert Rain follows me on X or Twitter, so I'd be happy if she can't get it via Kindle. I could just send her the text. I could just send it as a Google share thing, but I'd be happy to do that if she can't read it electronically.
And there you go, Desert Rain. Yeah, she's a prolific Twitter user. We definitely we communicate on there quite a bit. So
yeah, I'd be glad to do that.
Y'all can connect on there for sure.
Okay,
yep, there she goes. Yep. So I think that's an interesting. You bring up an interesting perspective. Have the soup in which this later Yonkers process church cult movement would grow into. And I think one of the interesting perspectives, at least to me, is relative to these topics and the intelligence operations, et cetera, is the deep state nature of these satanic cults, specifically. Not just Aquino, but specifically the process church, relative to tonight's conversation. And one of the interesting law enforcement characters you find there in Yonkers running the police department in the time frame you're talking about. In fact, he was a sergeant in the detective bureau in Yonkers. Was none other than James Comey's grandfather, William Comey.
Yeah.
And I often wonder, the characters like James Comey, William Comey would later retire as the head of the Yonkers PD. He was the commissioner.
Well, New York in general, it's kind of like it's old mafia families. Like if you want to be a somebody in New York, your grandfather had to be a somebody in New York.
Right. Exactly.
It really is.
No, for sure. That's a great way to put it. That is how it goes. Yeah. So, but I look at the people like Comey. I'm like, well, yeah, again, like you said, he's born into these positions, so he's inheriting these roles. And I think it's interesting that the key role he plays. He was deemed a Republican for many years. It's just that's tomfoolery, uniparty nonsense. What he really was the Clinton bag man. Even though George Bush was appointing him to various positions within the Department of Justice, the roles he was coming in for private industry to bury a Clinton situation. For example, his first one was he was assigned by George Bush to investigate Bill Clinton's pardon of a fellow by the name of Mark Rich. Bill Clinton, one of his out the door pardons, was a guy who was the number one man on he was on the FBI's most wanted list. I think he was maybe number 2. He was a George Soros type character named Mark Rich. He hadn't even been convicted of anything to be pardoned from. He was simply charged and on an FBI's wanted list, and Clinton pardoned him. So there was a lot of I still don't think it's legal, but they brought Comey in to do one of these numbers and say it was legal. So that was his first job as far as being the Clinton's bagman. So I find it interesting. He's from Westchester County. They're in Westchester County. That's where they set up shop. There's a lot of weird stuff. I'm not advocating for Westchester County to be, nuclear bombed or anything. I'm just saying there's a lot of weird shit that goes on in Westchester County. A lot of occult stuff, the Rockefeller estates there. A lot of old money stuff going on there. The Kennedys, for example, Yeah. RFK, when he was murdered by the process, ostensibly murdered by the process, as all the legends go and all the evidence seems to suggest. Sirhan attending process, sex rituals apparently as well, according to some investigative reports. But nonetheless, RFK, senator from New York at the time, lived in Westchester County.
But don't worry, the government investigated itself and found that they were just.
Hey, look, guys, we're not guilty, all right? I just think, there's some of these elements. So, one of the other elements I think that comes to mind is the seemingly deep connections between the upper echelon of the national security state of America and, the Nazis that took over in 1947. Via the National Security Act, the deeply connected folks who were making those national security decisions, stamping things national security, which I think takes like 3 signatures. Folks like William or Henry Kissinger, his close connections with this process church activity there out of Westchester County, and his underling, Brent Scowcroft, who would employ as an assistant and apparently a speechwriter, a leader in the Neo Process Church, a fellow by the name of J.J. Bryan. Real creepy son of a bitch. Operated a number of art galleries. Very spooky. He was involved doing some really weird malicious stuff. I believe in Lebanon he got picked up doing some spook stuff. But anyhow, he was a prominent leader in this Neo Process movement. Again, right-hand man to Henry Kissinger's right-hand man. This guy was, after Kissinger, Scowcroft was a national security advisor to numerous presidents. So we're talking about 2 dudes who are on a short list of folks stamping things national security, who seem to be deeply interrelated with the Process Church. So it's not just Comey.
I think the influence does extend all the way up the ladder, unfortunately. There are people in positions of huge power who really are into this stuff, and they're serious about it.
Right. Yeah. Right. It seems that way, right? And that seems like that was kind of Maury's stuff. So I don't want to go too far into the whole Maury's notes debacle. I mean, I do want to discuss it somewhere here with you, but how far have you gotten into some of those files and releases of files of the quote unquote Terry files, the what I just like to call the limited hangout, but the Terry files that were released?
I'm pretty familiar with them by now, and there was a point where I stayed up for about 3 days reading through all of them, and then I slept for a little while and went through them again. But yeah, there's a wealth of stuff in there, and it confirms not only some of the things Maury said over the years, most of what he said, in fact, but it also confirmed large parts of what I was saying, what I suspected, and what I concluded via my own research. So the files definitely were helpful. I mean, they named
a lot of names of those pseudonyms, right?
Well, yeah, we only knew them as pseudonyms, or in fact, there were some people that he didn't know about at all when he wrote the original book that we know about now. And he, by 1997, he had typed up what we call a flipper list of witnesses, meaning people that he thought were or could be flipped or should be, by the police, who could offer enough evidence to conclusively solve the case. And he typed up a list of, I don't know, at least a couple of dozen people, but
one of which was Abe Beam's son, right?
Abe Beam had an aide who was deeply involved in this stuff. Yeah.
Well, I believe one of his son was on that same list, if I'm not mistaken. I believe is an Ed Beam, maybe.
I'm trying to think if the son. I know of the 2 aides, and one of them was a close aide. I would have to go back and see if the son was on there. I'm not sure.
That brings me
about that part for sure.
That brings me to my next point. If I just may make this point, though, Nate, once again, if the mayor's son is in the cult and the New York City's, they're not going to investigate the mayor and his son. Like the mayor's son's not going to, you know what I mean? Like I think that's the nature of people want to say there was investigations into these things. Were there? I mean, there's a lot of things to point to that there wasn't, but I'm just saying, like, when you take into that factor, like, they're not going to do shit if the mayor's son's involved in these kind of activities or the mayor's aides.
Right. When it extended that far, there was no way on it, because we know that just before Berkowitz's arrest, they were searching for the yellow VW that had been seen at the last attack.
Right.
The moment Berkowitz is arrested, all that stuff about the yellow VW, the sketches of what are obviously different suspects, all of that just goes completely out the window. And all of a sudden, it's just this one guy. So yeah, the case, they never even made a case. They just said, this is the guy. And he agreed that he was the guy. And that was the end of it. They never made any sort of airtight case against David Berkowitz at all. And I think a lot of people probably don't realize that. They assume that he went to trial. He didn't. He just confessed. That's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah. And he had his like a joint hearing of all three counties judges came into one room and they all just convicted him at once.
Yes.
It's very unheard of. American jurisprudence was.
Yeah.
Another character that may factor in this powerful network that has put a lid on these things, fella, you're going to be familiar with there, Nate. Roy Cohn.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he made a list. He's on Terry's list as being a member of this cult. Something that's only really come to light in recent years once Terry's files became public. Through varying measures in which to keep those away from the public that have been going on since 2016. It appears they include folks like James Franco, Hollywood actor and alleged rapist of young women. James Franco. So I think there's a lot of these characters that have factored into that. But yeah, on these notes. So yeah, John, it seems to me I have a list. I got a list of files circa August, I think, of 2023. Yeah, 2023. Comparing those files to things like this website, I'm like, well, there's something going on here. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's an effort. Speaking to this concerted effort, I'm like, well, when you start comparing some of the stuff that I was sent versus the information on this now infamous website, The People versus David Berkowitz, which I believe populated around that same time.
It did, yeah. I think there are very relevant things on that website, including the flipper list. which I find very significant and was a lot of help in confirming my own research. But
let me pull up that list real quick while you're talking about it. And that, do you remember which section?
It's it'll be in the newly added documents, and it'll be pretty far down the index page. There is a Maury Terry page, and it's all in capitals. Let's see.
Am I in the right department?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe just a little bit further down. Yeah, newly updated Maury Terry investigation files page on December 16th of 2023, and I believe it's going to be to the side there. That just below that right there. Maury Terry's list of individuals alleged to be Son of Sam cult members and associates. Yeah, that's a very helpful list. That'll show people a lot of the names that they've always wondered about, and explain, at least some of their significance in relation not just to the Son of Sam crimes, but to their long-term membership in the cult. The first two names on that list are Ace Brown and Sue Conway.
Yeah,
I've made it.
I'm loading it up right now. I'm trying to at least.
Yeah. There's Ace definitely was number one, but Sue would be a close second. I've researched her for a number of years, and it only got more sordid and more interesting. She was well, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a lot about her in my booklet that I think people will find interesting.
Yeah, so this is these are some relevant points. This is great stuff you're saying here, John. So these documents, I have a different list of documents,
right,
than what's on that website. And it's not, like I've done an all-inclusive thing, but like even the letters from Berkowitz, I have a different list of letters from Berkowitz. And like you said, you stayed up and read all these things when you started looking at these files. I did the same thing.
Yeah,
I haven't read them in about a year. At least an overview. But I mean, I have a pretty good memory. I can tell you what's in those files, and I can tell you what just looking at that website. Not only Dana over there, Rodney Jules has pointed out the folks on that website, they're listed as process church members. Numerous parties are misidentified. Whether or not that's intentional or not, I'm leaning towards it probably is. But
some of the names on the photos, are. I'm trying to think of one example. There was there's a sketch of a guy named Jeff, and then there's somebody else who is also identified as Jeff, but they're two different people. And I can't remember who the guy who's misidentified is. But I've saw some of that. Yeah.
Sure, I know one of them is Robert DeGrimson's brother. They have him listed as Robert DeGrimson, even though it's his brother.
Yeah.
So, my question is,
his name is misspelled. I don't know if that was intentional or just that part could have been an honest mistake, but you never know. Yeah.
So, have you ever seen any documents with? So those are the documents. Are you seeing just the folks off the People versus David Berkowitz?
And that is part of it. Yeah. What they have posted is part of it. There are other things, various. Maury wrote a lot of things down by hand in later years.
Sure.
A lot of it is difficult to read, but there's a lot of that sort of stuff too.
I just think it's weird. So you have these different, these are the Terry files, right, on this website, right? We were just looking at. Then I have a different set. It seems like there was even maybe a third different set of stuff that was sent out. It just seems like there was this, again, back to these concerted efforts, this misinformation, disinformation campaign. I don't know what the end game is to do this, but it seems like this was a concerted effort to send varying, maybe again, the list of folks that I have in mind, we can go over to a future show if you'd like. It's different than what's on that website. I wanted to kind of get your ideas on what you thought of what's going on here. Like, what do you think is going on with the shifty nature of this? So Maury Terry dies, and his files are suddenly this weird, contentious matter, and now there's varying releases of these. It feels like a WikiLeaks release. You know what I mean? Like they're suddenly just dropping these random tranches of files on folks, and they're different files. I'm not saying WikiLeaks sends out different files. I'm just saying these weird drops of these files. Just why wouldn't it all be at once? Why wouldn't it be like Ed Sanders in the library that he donated stuff to Princeton Library? I've seen it. It's it's not very well organized, but at least it's kind of collected in one spot, right, and available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be curious to see what the second batch looks like, because I don't know if I've seen any of that at all. But that's interesting. The people Maury identified there in the flipper list, I know just from my own research and from talking to various folks who knew about Maury's research at the time, that those folks definitely were involved. But those are like first tier level of the the street level members of the cult. So those folks definitely were involved. We're talking about the Sue Conways, the John DeFrenzas, the Richard Perazas. Those folks, they definitely were involved. But I'd be curious to see this additional batch of stuff, because I don't know if I've seen any of that.
Interesting.
She was and of course Tiny Lentini was involved.
Yeah, so Lentini's not even on the list I'm talking about. I mean, I'm saying it's just the whole the files are totally different.
That may be a shorter list. Was it did it say something about like being a working list of the 22 disciples? Maybe was it a list like that?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that may have been, and I think that was just a working list at one time. I'm not sure what the date of that was, but Maury tidied that up and extended it later. Yeah, but he had a working list that I think Howard Weiss he added in handwriting at the bottom, and he was a friend of Berkowitz's. He definitely was like associated with the cult, but Berkowitz said he wasn't a member. But yeah, I think the first list had maybe a couple dozen people on it, or thereabouts. Yeah.
So, Jonathan, how active is this cult still ongoing? Is this cult kind of dried up at this point? And we kind of know that, like, kind of like what you said earlier, JJ. It's like I don't remember the metaphor you used, but it's kind of like how they say the Illuminati ended in like 1785. Well, we know it didn't, right? So if this cult is still ongoing, is Berkowitz actually naming names at this point? I'm curious, like, how much money do we have to put in his commissary to get him on the show? Do you think?
I don't know. He did name names to Maury when this case was reopened. In 1996, 97. He did. He signed off on a longer list, which is also been posted to the People versus Berkowitz page. Since then, I believe he has been very reluctant to talk about the case in general. I think the information we have in Maury's files is probably as close as we're going to get to saying, okay, this is definitely who is involved. I'm sure other people were involved who have not been named, who we can't identify, unfortunately, probably at this point. But this is a pretty good guidebook here, just the flipper list, because I can't tell you how many dozens of awkward phone calls I've made, emails I've sent. Sometimes I've sent letters even in the mail when I couldn't find any other way to get in touch with somebody. And I have actually gotten people to contact me back via snail mail. But what Maury typed out here in this list, these were the core people who were involved. And they, if you find people who knew them, a lot of times people won't talk. A lot of times people are still uncomfortable about it, regardless of the passage.
The mafia, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a mob mentality.
It really is, yeah. But sometimes you run up on somebody and you just catch them in the right mood, and they tell you some pretty good stuff. Yeah.
So according to this blurb here regarding this Quentin Bieber fella, it's like Jane Mansfield was seen at Untermeyer Park rituals.
Yeah, she was. In fact, Paul Ranieri said he met her there and that she participated in one of their occult sex rituals. I don't know if they were actually married or not, but her manager, and he was her boyfriend anyway, but possibly they were married. I'm a little fuzzy on if they were common law or if they were legally married, but was a fellow named Matt Simber, who was from Yonkers and he'd grown up there, gone to high school there.
Oh.
Kind of a shady character. He directed a really strange movie later in life called The Witch Who Came from the Sea, which is a very disturbing, bizarre movie about child sexual abuse. He was around that scene too. Quentin Bieber he was part of that little actors troupe, the St. Mary's Players, and Berkowitz recalled him as somebody who was also associated with the cult. In particular, its odd sex practices and sex parties.
Yeah. So I think to answer your question, to provide some context, Nate, to your question there, not only is this stuff going on, but again, speaking to whether or not Berkowitz name folks. Yeah, I mean, all throughout Berkowitz and Terry, from what I've seen throughout their correspondences, they had a very close relations. And looking at some of their letters back and forth from each other in Terry's files. For many years, talking all sorts of subjects from sports to life, but nonetheless, he definitely seemed to trust Terry. And again, pointed, a lot of the stuff Terry investigated himself, from my understanding, but Berkowitz would confirm. But nonetheless, he has provided information. But speaking again to this is stuff going on. Well, Jane Mansfield's daughter is a very prominent actress in Hollywood still today. So, or at least the New York side of Hollywood, right? I believe one of the Law and Order shows.
That's right. Yeah.
So, you have the offsprings of these folks. And again, speaking of another offspring that's famous in this kind of process church narrative, one Terry Melcher of the Beach Boys fame, he wrote one of their famous songs from the Tom Cruise bartending film from the 80s, Cocktail, Kokomo, written by Terry Melcher, son of Doris Day, who Doris Day is all involved in this kind of Hollywood process angles. So is Terry Melcher, who was living there at the Tate Polanski home prior to Tate Polanski moving in, and knew and was friends with Charles Manson. So
I didn't. You and I were talking about it a little bit before we even got started recording about my crazy father. And I wonder sometimes if he had some weird. He must have had some weird CIA connections or MK Ultra connections. But he was good friends with one of the Beach Boys. I don't remember which one, the bad one, whichever the bad one was, because I know that he did heroin with him. And my father was a crazy heroin addict, but also.
So he was living in Los Angeles in the late '60s.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, yeah. So I think most of the time he lived near Lompoc. But he
so Santa Barbara,
yeah, that area. But he went everywhere from the Bay Area, so like San Francisco, because I know he knew Osley. He was getting acid from like straight from the source, and then he was taking it back to Southern
CIA right there, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The Osley LSD badges. Yeah. That's CIA.
I know my mom met him. I know my mom met Charles Manson as well. We talked a little bit about that earlier. That Charles Manson was a friend of my father. My father was his drug dealer, and
that's wild.
Yeah, there's weird connections all throughout there. Yeah. They had a little house.
What do you consider the bad Beach Boy? He died in, I think, 1980, I believe.
Yeah, they all hung out at a place they called the House of the Rising Sun. Actually, they had a house. That's what they called it. And I don't know if they named it after the song or the song was named after there. But
was it the Animals?
I don't remember, dude. I didn't mention any of this. I wish my dad was still alive. Actually, he died in 2007.
Yeah, the Animals. Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Your father passed in 2007. I walked on you there, mate. Yeah. So were you close with the man?
As close as you can be with a heroin addict. He was,
it sounded like maybe he had some trouble past with him with his drug addiction. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you hear from him every once in a while.
Details.
Yeah. He was an interesting guy. He was a nice guy, generous guy, but also could be prone to extreme violence. Like I just remember stories of some dude called my mom fat or something in the middle of the store, and my dad beat him half to death with like a blackjack, and then they had to run out of the store. Wild stories like that. But he never. Well, okay, I won't say he never got caught because he did. He was in and out of prison sometimes.
Did some time.
Yeah, he definitely did some time. Interesting stuff. Kidnapped the real JJ. Yeah, people have been commenting about you looking 10 years younger and maybe you're a clone of yourself.
Right, I saw that's pretty good. The beardless wonder. No, that's pretty wild. So, how do you think your father got associated with some of these activities? Was it through the drug use?
It had
an outlaw biker dude.
No, he wasn't a biker dude. He was a beaner. He was a interesting guy. I'm trying to think of anything that really could have got him connected. I know that when he was in prison, they made him the head of the Brown Beret. It was like a prison gang. They put him in charge of some things like that. He didn't necessarily want to be, but yeah, I don't really know actually how he really got connected. It must have just been through drugs, and I don't know enough about him, honestly. Like I don't know that side of him. I could try. I've been trying to get my mom on the show for years because
start asking her.
Yeah, start asking
her on the lamp, start interrogating her. Yeah. Tell me what you know. Give me a name. No, that's a wild tale though, man. That's I appreciate you sharing that for sure, because I think that's an interesting perspective you bring up with that tale. Because one of the things I think it's, and John can probably speak to this, or please feel free to interject anytime here, John. The point where everyone wants to say like, how did David Berkowitz get associated with these prominent doctors and lawyers and socialites in this cult movement in Yonkers? It's the drug movements, it's the drug culture. Much like your father probably associated with Dennis Wilson, they probably read a heroin drug. I mean, no disrespect to your father, but I'm saying like this is how these things happen. You're at a heroin drug den. You're like, oh shit, are you a Beach Boy? You're like, yeah, let's do some fucking heroin together. You know what I mean? It's
my dad was a charming guy.
It's more complicated. I don't think it's more complicated than that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a lot of it involved him going to pick up drugs somewhere or holding drugs, and then somebody would come to him and they would take the drugs. Sure. Yeah, a lot of it revolved around that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of how these interactions and associations do occur. It is the cult scene, it's the drug scene, it's a little bit of both, maybe. Sometimes I wonder. Another infamous tale about Berkowitz. Nate, you'll appreciate this one. At least my thoughts on it, I think you'll appreciate. Another infamous tale, John, is he hung out at Studio 54, correct? That's one of the
I believe
lore around Berkowitz.
Yeah, and he went to parties at Roy Cohn's place and various yachts and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, he saw probably more of the world that way than he would have been able to see otherwise. Perversely enough,
for sure, and that's a good point. Yeah, for sure, he was cultured. He was a cultured man, that David Berkowitz. But I often wonder, and I just have some ridiculous thoughts in my brain hole here. It's David Berkowitz associated with Roy Cohn. Donald Trump knew Roy Cohn. Donald Trump's at Studio 54. David Berkowitz at Studio 54. Michael Jackson's at Studio 54 around the same time. Are Michael Jackson, David Berkowitz, and Donald Trump moonwalking their way around the dance floor of Studio 54 there in the mid to late 70s? Because it seems like they're all hanging out there together.
Yeah, I think it was and Andrew Crispo, the crazy art dealer, was there, and yeah,
that's the dude that Zeman edited out of the book, the new version, of the digital version of the Ultimate Evil. He said, "No more Crispo." Yeah, so I mean, it's high society Berkowitz is hobnobbing with.
It really was, yeah. I mean, he was he had, and I believe, accurate recollections of a lot of this stuff. Just like when Rainieri remembered, oh yeah, Jane Mansfield was at one of these sex parties that the cult had. I do think these are accurate recollections,
sure,
because that's what these people get up to in their downtime. It's just that you go to crazy parties and you're from Hollywood or you're a musician and you meet local people and stuff just happens. So yeah.
Interesting. Strange culture, that drug culture. It does seem to make some odd bedfellows at times.
Yeah.
Especially within the Satanist kind of drug culture network. Not just New York City. The Ultimate Evil popped off in North Dakota as well. Part of the storyline there. So it's a transnational pipeline of this kind of satanic drug activity. John Carr specifically there in Minot, North Dakota. I've been to Minot. There's an Air Force base there, and I was a MP in the Air Force for many years. This was this is probably halfway through my career, so maybe around 2011 or so. I was up there from headquarters. We were opening up a new unit on the base there. But so I'm in an environment where I should feel comfortable. I'm an Air Force base. I'm an Air Force MP. I shouldn't find this place to be a very peculiar spot. I'm like, that place is creepy as fuck. And
Really?
oh yeah. And I want to be there 1 minute longer than I had to be there on like a 3-day trip. I think I got to go back there a second time for I only stayed like a day. And when I was watching, for what it is, that Sons of Sam documentary on Netflix, is an interesting, perspective to see how they're framing this kind of cover-up situation, is what I like to call the process church cover-upper movement. But there's some interesting details to discern from there as well. So I don't tell people to just roll, don't just throw it out, without checking it out. Yeah, don't throw out the baby with the bathtub situation, But what Maury's producer friend that went up there and investigated some of Maury's claims there in the Ultimate Evil and verified these claims, as he speaks about in the documentary.
Yeah.
I laughed when he talked about how creepy it was there. I'm like, that dude ain't lying. It's a fucking creepy town.
It sounds interesting. I talked to Glenn Geetson just briefly a few years ago, the deputy who actually pulled John Carr up off the side of the road that time after he was pushed out of the van and his money was stolen. And, that marked the sort of the beginning of John's gradual breakdown, the last, whatever, year and a half of his life, 2 years, whatever it was. And he appeared just briefly in the Netflix documentary, but he said, the town was just lousy with occult activity. He said it was all over the place. He responded to various calls, across town, and there was always something like that going on somewhere, he said. So, yeah. Yeah,
I was stationed in a very similar town in Montana, Great Falls, Montana. Not quite as creepy, but still kind of creepy. And looking back, I think I see a very similar environment. I was a very young man at the time, and I was drinking every day. I was off work, so I really wasn't paying attention to these kind of details back then. But I did encounter while I was living there. I did come face to face with a cannibalistic child, diddling child murderer, who apparently was serving up human burgers there at the local Hardee's. A fellow by the name of Nathaniel Bar Jonah. He was arrested and later murdered in a Montana prison. But he was clearly part of a satanic pedophilic cult network while I was living there in Great Falls. So, again, very similar environment to Minot. The United States Air Force is basically the reason why both of these cities exist. If it weren't for the Air Force bases, that is the economy. So, very strange kind of correlations there between the two places. But yeah, Minot, super creepy. So you got to talk to the sheriff, one of the deputies that investigated, huh?
Yeah. And he was a very nice man, very humble, willing to talk about it just, straight away. And he said that there was consistent cult activity in and around Minot at the time. From what you read in Maury's book, there definitely was something going on out there. I've always been curious exactly how the relationship was formed between the North Dakota cult and the Yonkers cult. It may have been directly.
That's a great question. I've wondered the same.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I hate to interrupt you. That's one of the things that I've long wondered. Again, I have some ideas, but I'd like to hear. Your thoughts.
I would just assume that logically it had something to do with John Carr's drug connections, but
sure,
it may have even gone back further than that. But I'd love to see somebody research that subject because it's ripe for research. A lot of work could be done on that, establishing the connection between Minot and Yonkers.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting you write a subsequent book to your Son of Sam, but by all means, it sounds like you might be the perfect man for the mission. I think there would be an adequate study as the submerged history of the Minot, North Dakota cult.
Oh yeah. If I ever run across any information, I'd love to get into it because this is I live for this essentially now. It's central to everything I do. I am working on another book, and that may figure into it. At some point if I can just kind of get my foot into the research door there. But I am working on something else, and hopefully I'll at least have a first draft ready in another 4 months or so. I'm shooting for.
Oh, that's awesome.
Can you give us a little sneak peek about what the second book is?
Oh, sure, yeah.
You beat me to it, Nate.
It's just more of the same, just in greater detail. Because people have asked me, well, what about this person or this event or whatever? So I'm just trying to cram it all in there, and it'll at least be like a couple of 100 pages, and maybe even more than that. So, the research is ongoing, so I'm just going to keep adding to it as I go, and it looks like it's going to turn into a pretty big book before it's finished. So I'll just ask people to bear with me because I'm a really slow worker, but I'm getting there.
Hey, no worries, John. You're welcome back anytime to discuss your future book as well, or more of these discussions. I appreciate your time tonight. I don't want to keep it too long here, and I'll definitely give you both you gents some closing thoughts. I figured we get things wrapped up here. We're about an hour and a half, but I just wanted to share with you my thoughts on Minot, North Dakota, regarding the submerged history and how it may figure into the overall narrative. So the city's known as the Magic City, so it almost has some occult, connotations to its name. It was founded by Stephen Minot or Minot. They're a prominent Brahmin class of Boston, the Boston blue blood families. One of them there out of Brookline, a wealthy suburb. they're very interrelated, intermarried with the Weld family. In fact, Tuesday Weld. Are you familiar with the actress Tuesday Weld? Is that a name either of you gents have ever heard of before?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what, as far as your understanding, John, is do you understand she's deeply ingrained in the occult activities of Hollywood? And
I honestly didn't know that about her, but that gives me something else to research tomorrow because
okay.
I'm on top of this all the time, so that's a whole new area for me. But I look forward to finding out about it.
So Tuesday Weld, we talked about Jane Mansfield being present at Elmshire Park rituals. So and she was Anton LaVey dedicated his Satanic Bible to one of the individuals there was Jane Mansfield, who was a member of the Church of Satan.
Right.
Then another individual in that same dedication was Tuesday Weld, and in a 1972 book, Modern Day Witchcraft, maybe I can send you the link later, John, and put it in the show notes. The name of the book's escaping me, but Anton LaVey's interviewed in this obscure book in the 70s, and he says the reason why he dedicated it to Tuesday Weld is because she's part of the rituals, so implying that she's deeply involved in occult activity. Other individuals would later peg her as being this quote-unquote Illuminati high priestess. Folks like Adam Go Rightly, an author who did an extensive coverage of the Manson family. In fact, I highly recommend his book, The Shadow over Santa Susanna, which he kind of picked up a lot of. I don't know if he ever met Ed Sanders. He definitely picked up a lot of the Sanders narrative from the family and ran with some of those, evolution of some of those ideas and concepts. Great book, great analysis. He would later write a book about, write some blogs about Tuesday Weld and some magazine articles, I believe. Anyhow, she seems very ingrained within this cult ritual network and whatnot. She's allegedly deeply tied to the whole Manson situation. But her great grandfather was Stephen Minot Weld, who would have been second cousins, I believe, with the fella who started Minot, North Dakota. So I'm just saying, well, amongst these kind of upper, we talked about the quote unquote elite society of Westchester County. Well, if we want to talk about other elite societies, the Westchester County of Boston is these Boston Brahmins, the quote unquote blue bloods, these Brookline families like the Welds, like the Minots. And here we go.
I know Kane don't have us watching this and then going to do his damn live. Kane, what time are you doing your live? 08, I was going to say. What the fuck are we watching, by the way? It's only 4 o'clock. Oh my god. What the heck is that? Okay, I don't know what my computer's doing, so